Ooh, sorry, I'm a little late. Running here. I had to get my drink. Here we are. Welcome back. Third live for the day. Shout out to you all being here. Because if I ain't sweating, I ain't working. So, with that being said, nobody is working in Pima County Sheriff. I'm just kidding. No, they are. They're working hard over there. They are. They're trying to find Nancy, but I saw 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗹𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗀's comment, and it makes absolute sense. First mistake, leaving the scene open to the public after a few hours of initial search, then going back I don't know how many times thinking there would be non-contaminated evidence that would be usable. Nope. No. I am shook at what is going on with this case today. I mean, we've been shook every day, but holy cow, you guys. The DNA was like no help. Yeah, all of that for all of nothing. So we're just gonna go over Pima County Sheriff's, go over a couple X posts. We're gonna do the usual. There's a Harvey's involved again. We have a 5-minute clip. Brian Entin, Megan Kelly. Those are the people I have been going to, leaning towards listening. Yeah, I don't know why he's involved again in this. It's like every day he has something to do with the case, and I just don't know what to believe anymore. Let me see, did Ashley Banfield post anything? I like to keep up with all of them. Ashley, Brian, Nancy Grace.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Banfield, and this is.
Let me see. I don't think she's posted anything. Nope. Not since yesterday. Hi, Debbie. Good to see you. Shout out to all of you guys being here. Please hit the like button. I'm gonna, like I said, we'll go over what's on X and then we'll watch a couple videos, get caught up, get all the information. Yeah, where is Nancy? Hi, Debbie. Hi, Lise. Hi, Abuelitas. Cuff you. Shay, good to see you. Alicia, thanks for being here. TWC Myers. Ramon. Coffee. No, I got my drink. Oh gosh, Harvey's back. Yeah, Harvey is back. So here we go. Let me pull up what we're going to be looking at. Oh, my bad. So Pima County Sheriff says DNA evidence from the gloves approximately 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's residence was submitted to CODIS and produced no matches. There is additional DNA evidence that was found at the residence that is also being analyzed. The DNA that was submitted to CODIS was from the set of gloves found 2 miles away. It did not trigger a match in CODIS and did not match DNA found at the property. The DNA found at the property is being analyzed and further testing needs to be done as part of the investigation. You tell me what you think about that. Because let's read the comments. I'm nosy. Was Nancy's DNA on the gloves? What in the what? It was a pair of gloves. Yeah. 16 gloves to be exact. Stop sending the evidence to another crime lab. Sheriff Nanos and Mark Kelly must get over their TDS and allow the FBI to handle this. There's no time for arrogance. An 84-year-old mother and grandmother is missing. Okay, wait. I'm confused. So, wait, you guys, pause. Yesterday we said if they know whose DNA, okay, so we don't know. I think I answered my own question, but how did they clear the family? They know it just doesn't match the family, I guess, the DNA. But I thought the family, like, I thought you had to be in CODIS to match. So they just did like a separate DNA test? Like, how does that work? Because how is a family cleared if they don't even know whose DNA was involved? on the gloves. I mean, whose DNA do they have that they're matching against and clearing people is what I'm trying to say. Oh, somebody said, so basically you don't know anything. It's not like you've clarified if there's multiple suspects either. You know, I kind of agree with this comment. Why are you not holding a press conference? I don't know, guys. You really botched this entire case badly. Blame Sheriff Nanos. Shouldn't the DNA have been done first, not some random glove 2 miles away? These are wild reports that didn't match. We will wait from updates from you. Consider DNA phenotyping as soon as possible. Here we go again. It seems really shady. I don't think I'll ever live in Arizona, but then again, where I live, it probably would be the same, honestly. But yet they've rolled out the family and they haven't even finished analyzing that DNA. What is the statement? The DNA was submitted to CODIS. It did not trigger a match. It did not match the DNA found at the property. That's my question right there. What DNA was found at the property and where? And that DNA that's found at the property, it didn't match the DNA on the gloves. Okay. So it didn't match the family. How do you know that if you don't even know what's going on? Whose DNA was found at the property? Why isn't he handling all over to FBI? I don't know. That's what a lot of people are saying. Yeah, family, no one should be cleared. No one should be cleared. This is outrageous. That is correct. Exactly. We don't know which DNA belongs to the perp. Okay, I'm like, am I missing something? I know we've been here like almost every freaking day. Literally. Covering this. And I'm like, did I miss something? Like, they're going for IgG. The glove 2 miles away could be nothing. Yeah, it could be nothing, right? Like it could be one of the searchers that's not in CODIS. Like, Sheriff's Department fumbled the case. Whose DNA was at the scene? So they have DNA from the scene. I don't think that glove found along the road has anything to do with the case. Girl, at this point, get Paw Patrol on this. Oh my God. That's hilarious. Yeah, at this point, we all need to be over there. Let me go look. Let's go look on my homepage and see. I'm sure. Oh, actually, you know what? I saw Jay Bunyo tweeted something. So let's go there. Is that how you say his last name? Oh yeah, I wanted to show you guys this too. Savannah Guthrie is the one in the Epstein file, finally lands in Arizona to support his wife. What husband waits 2 weeks to support his wife? Where is Nancy Guthrie? The cop dude at the airport, yo. Let's look at this. We need all the tea, all the information. This is Savannah's husband. Of course.
Michael, how are you, sir? Michael, how's the family holding up? Is there anything you can say?
It's my bad.
All right. Michael, is there anything you want to say to the people who have done this? Michael, how's the family holding up? Anything you can say?
He's like, please, please. Whoa. I'm glad that TMZ has it. You guys, I swear if I hear about this TMZ again, I swear I'm about to freak out. Hashtag, do I sound like Kenzie? Glove theory was a last minute decision to give media something to report. You guys, I'm getting like really emotionally frustrated with this case. Crystal says I've had to take a break from the Nancy case. Yeah, Crystal. Imagine if you're Savannah and these idiots still have no idea what's going on. it's starting to feel intentional. That's just my opinion, but it's starting to feel like, are they doing this on purpose? Like, what? Oh, okay, here, I'll show you guys. This is a post I was looking for earlier. 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗹𝗆𝗆, hey, JB says this. Here's the other thing. Reporters are undoubtedly asking some different questions. So now the public has to follow multiple reporters or outlets to get all the info, make it make sense. So rather than doing a press conference, Sheriff Nanos is doing like a press tour. He met with Brian Entin. So there's an interview coming with Brian Entin. I don't think it's in the video we're about to watch. But Brian Entin interviewed Sheriff Nanos. And, oh, wait, it is. It's in the clip we're about to watch. Okay, he went and sat down with him. So I'm going to watch that right now. But that's what 𝗲𝗹𝗹𝗆𝗆 here is talking about. Oh, let me share my screen. My apologies. That's what he's talking about here. He's saying he doesn't want to give a press conference, but he's meeting up with different news stations and giving like a statement to everyone. Hello, why don't you give one to the public? Savannah asks for the public help. And then you don't want to tell us the truth. You don't want to be transparent about the facts of the case. And then you are a DICK to the FBI and you don't want to share information, whatever. And then you got it all wrong with the DNA. And now you don't want to give a press conference, but you're meeting with Brian Entin and it was like NBC or Fox or something, all on the back end. He had like a little press day where he met with like different news stations. And I'm just like, what? I think he's liking the 15 minutes of fame too much. And they're not even good 15 minutes, yo. Like, I don't think anyone is impressed. We can appreciate it. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you. Can someone else take it over now? Like, respectfully, the case. Half the sheriffs are less than 5 years in service. We can do a nation like for Nancy. All the false information about being spread and does look intentional. Yeah. Yeah. And a couple detectives visited Nancy's house today, but like, JB, no press conference, but when this interview with Brian Entin drops, it's a must watch. Yeah, look, here he is. He met with Brian Entin. Okay. What about the world that is also worried? Like, you don't want to say anything to anybody? Let me pull up NBC. We've been reading their hour by hour. Like hourly updates. This is so ridiculous. Okay, let me share the how many times they search Annie? I don't really know. And yeah, and how's the family cleared? I'm still kind of stuck on that too. Like, by what? Looking in their phones? Did they search their homes or something? It dropped Brian and scene. Sheriff waiting on Google for more footage. They're waiting on Google. Wait, why Google? I thought it was Nest. Is Nest owned by Google? Oh, I think it is actually, huh? Is that why? Oh yeah, yes, Google owns Nest. Okay, let's read these hourly updates. 11 hours ago, officials still searching for a person seen in Guthrie doorbell video. Okay, we know that. DNA from the gloves didn't yield any hits in the database. The Pima County Sheriff said the DNA from the gloves found about 2 miles from Nancy's house was submitted to a lab in Florida and to the CODIS the system this morning. There were no DNA hits. No confirmed matches in the investigation. The sheriff's department also said that DNA process could take time and that additional DNA evidence found at the residence is being analyzed. It said that the DNA found at the property is being, okay, so whose DNA was found at the property? Evidence from search warrants executed last week is still being processed, sheriff's department says. Okay. More than 1,600 tips came in through local tip line for 10 hours ago. Sheriff's department has no briefing scheduled. 8 hours ago, after gloves yield no hits, investigators turned to DNA at home and genealogy. The Pima County Sheriff said that even though DNA from gloves found in the Guthrie investigation yielded no hits on databases, that's not the end. Now we start with genealogy and some of the partial DNA we have at home. We have at the home. Partial DNA. So they found partial DNA at the scene. To me, that's more critical than any glove I found 2 miles away. I'm not dismissing the gloves 2 miles away, but I have gloves 5 miles away, 10 miles away, so we prioritize. Nanos did not say where in the home the DNA was found. We believe that we may have some DNA that may be our suspect, but we don't know that until DNA is separated, sorted, and admitted to CODIS maybe through genealogy. CODIS is a combined, okay, DNA, we know what that is. Okay, so partial DNA. He's saying that, okay, I already went through CODIS, so I don't know what he means by sorted out and admitted. If it was admitted, that means it's already sorted out. Genealogy, so what? They can't figure it out and they're going to try to go to what, like what Maureen and Megyn Kelly were talking about, like the 23andMe and that kind of stuff. So they really don't have any idea. Or maybe, yeah, maybe it does need to go through other systems. I don't really know. They didn't say where in the home the DNA was found. Investigators are still working to find Guthrie's pacemaker. Suspect may be wearing a ring in the photo. It's like every day it's something new. That's how they need to do that ASAP. The 23andMe Evie stuff, genealogy. Yeah, because they did, right? With Brian's dad, Brian Kober's DNA dad. So now they're saying that he's wearing a ring. Nana said that images of the suspect on Guthrie's porch the morning she disappeared could show the man wearing a ring. I look at the same photo, you look at it, and I see it, Nano said in an interview today. I'm going to give that to my team. They'll look at that, they'll analyze it, and we'll see. Maybe it is. Nanos, you're worried about a fucking ring? Like, what is that gonna do? You're gonna go to every ring store and see who last bought a ring. What if they bought it on Amazon? What if they stole it from another state? What if they got it from their family member? Like, so now the ring has something to do with it? I think a different, like, can somebody else take over the case, like a different sheriff or something? I don't know. Like, how does that work? For reals. Investigators hope unique holster could offer clues to suspect identity. So first it's the jacket and the backpack and the mask. Now it's a ring. And now you're back to the holster. What about the shoes? Have you guys looked into the shoes? I haven't heard shit about the shoes. Are they from Walmart too? Anyone? The shoes? Hello? Tomorrow maybe they'll look into the shoes. Why plants over the camera to show what the plant was at weeds? It was like dried flowers or something. He wears a pinky ring. Okay, so every other older Italian man is a suspect to them now. Yeah. I know many guys that wear jewelry like that. Or it could be a wedding ring. I don't know. Maybe it's just a black band, you know? Okay, so it says in a video taken from Nancy's porch the morning she went missing, a man could be seen wearing a holster, and it's a unique one. This was 5 hours ago. It's a unique one, said the sheriff. Investigators are looking to gun stores to try to match the unique holster. We know he had a GUN. We know he had a holster that had some pretty unique characteristics. We can't quite identify it yet, but that's being worked on. So naturally, we go to our gun shops everywhere and say, have you seen this guy? Can you help us identify this weapon? Can you help us identify the holster? You go there and say, have you seen this guy? The guy is wearing a mask and nobody can tell who it is. So why are you asking them to identify someone in a mask? And then what? They're going to wrongfully detain somebody else again, another citizen like they did Carlos, because you're going based off of what someone was wearing in the mask, like what their face looked like in that mask. Or they're gonna try to be singled out by their eyes. So the guy at the gun shop should know, okay, those eyes belong to someone that you sold, you know, like how are they gonna, I guess maybe if they remember like the exact outfit, the eyes, the mustache. It doesn't seem like, right, like I haven't heard anything about shoe impressions, nothing. He had stepped in the dirt, sand. Her blood, yeah, I think this is so botched, there's no return. Hi, F. Chupin, good to see you, love. Thanks for stopping by here. Appreciate you. So yeah, so now they're gonna go off the holster. Tech company Bluefly said it has had a role in investigation. Bluefly, a tech company whose product and service specialize in search and rescue operations, said the Pima County Sheriff's Department requested its support earlier this month. The technology has been used in a variety of air and ground vehicles on foot, the company said in a statement, and provides first responders with a heat map to identity signals. I think they meant identify. To identify signals within a search area. The company said it would not be commenting further. Identification of Walmart backpack could be critical, says the sheriff. The Pima County Sheriff said that the identification of the backpack worn by the suspect, which was sold at Walmart, could be critical. It could possibly now identify as a backpack that is sold at one place. That's Walmart. So we're working with our Walmart managers all across the state to try to find how many sales were there of that backpack in the last 20, 30, in the last 60 days. And we can do something with that. Can we break it? Maybe we'll find a credit card or bank card, he said. Maybe we'll find a video of the guy walking in. Nanos also encouraged members of the public to submit any information they had. No tip is too small. Case is far from being cold, said sheriff. Firearm shop owner says authorities asked him about possible suspects. Okay. Ring camera founder speaks on security images in Guthrie case. Ring founder and chief inventor Jamie Siminoff discussed, excuse me. Okay, this will be interesting. So it says, Ring founder and chief inventor Jamie Siminoff discussed the home security video that provided the biggest lead thus far in the Nancy case. He also touched on privacy concerns and the company's controversial Super Bowl commercial. Okay, let's listen to what Brian Entin has to say with the sheriff today. Got locked up there on accident. Did anyone look under the house, under the attic for her? You know what, Evie? I'm gonna call that in. I'm gonna call it in. Watch, she's chilling. Got locked up there on accident. I'm gonna call that into them. Did you guys look there? No, like for real. Like, are they looking? Because someone could have buried her. An experienced an FBI agent, and I mean that respectfully. Like, I am praying Nancy is still alive, but I'm just saying. An experience with an FBI agent regarding a bag that the he didn't care he was about to leave the town. Oh, that's wild. Okay, let's watch Brian Entin. Actually, let's watch Harvey first. He has a 5-minute clip about today's updates or lack thereof.
Developments in the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping case. First of all, the testing of that glove, the DNA testing in Florida, is complete. Now, that doesn't answer the questions about whose DNA is it and are they connected to this kidnapping? Because under federal law, the glove has to be tested in the state where the glove is found. That is the requirement.
So why did Sheriff Nanos send it to Florida when the FBI had someone in? Didn't they have someone in Arizona?
Requirement that the FBI has before they can put it in the CODIS system. CODIS is Combined DNA Intake System. That has 27 million DNA profiles. And in order to check out the DNA in that system, in the CODIS system, the glove has to be tested in the state where it was found, and that is Arizona. That glove, we're told, is in Arizona right now. This is called a PCR test. It's the most sophisticated DNA test. It's the gold standard. Usually,
Harvey, why don't you just shut up? We have nothing to do with this at this point. I'm so irritated. I can barely even get
takes
through this.
just a day to get the results. We are told that in the next 24 hours, once that glove is tested and the results are in, that profile will go into the CODIS system. So that should be resolved within 24 hours and maybe sooner. Now, we are also told, and I think this is really interesting, that the glove that was tested is not the glove that the New York Post found. It is a different glove. So up to this point, everybody, and really us included, we assumed that was the glove. We are now told by people connected to this, it is not the glove. It is a different glove that authorities found 2 miles from Nancy's house. Now, something else that we have learned. There are stories out there that gun shops have been given around 40 names of people that the FBI wanted to check to see if people bought a certain type of gun, namely the gun that was in the holster of the presumed kidnapper. We told you this is a semi-automatic handgun. So what we found out is that they have already checked out the holster to see who has bought a similar holster in that area. And the names that were given to the gun shops are people who actually bought that type of holster. And it's not like those people are all people of interest, but what they want to find is, did somebody both buy a holster like that and buy a gun like that? And then all of a sudden, they're going to be real interested in that person. So that is why the FBI is checking out gun shops in that area. Final thing I want to say is that the man who has been sending us emails demanding to know and demanding money in return for information leading to the identity of the kidnapper and the location of Nancy Guthrie. We have received now numerous letters from this person. we are not going to talk about this person anymore. Because if I tell you that he sent us another letter but didn't give us the information, and I keep telling you he sent us another letter and another letter,
Yeah.
then suddenly when I stop, everybody's going to figure out, oh, he must have finally given the information, and that could screw up the investigation, because that information is going to go immediately to the FBI, and then they're going to do their thing. So by definition, if we keep saying, we got another one, we got another one, we got another one, and all of a sudden we say we're not going to talk, you're going to figure out that means he just gave it up, and it could then tip off the kidnapper. So we're not going to say anything more unless and until we get that information and pass it on to the FBI. And at some point, then we will let you know. And also, that creates a public record for the person who would give us this information, that it could lead to the kidnapper and therefore entitle them to the reward. So radio silence on that front, but there is movement. And, I will say one other thing, that I spoke to a law enforcement source today who said that this is gumshoe detective work right now, that they are just chasing down every possible lead they can to try and find the kidnapper and Nancy Guthrie. But right now, they don't have a straight line to a suspect or even person of interest. But when this DNA profile is done, maybe they will. And when this gun is possibly located where somebody purchased it and matches the holster, that could be a hot lead. But for now, it is gumshoe detective work.
We do have some promising.
Okay, so basically what he's saying, that they're not going to say anything else. How was this letter written? Print, emailed? They said it was, I think, emailed, right? Because they couldn't figure out the IP address or something. Also, let me share with you guys this. Why TMZ? Hey, MSM. Look at this post. I just was reading this. Fox True Crime speculation squashed. Pima County Sheriff's Nano addressed speculation about adult protective services and Nancy's disappearance, confirming an investigator was sent to her home the day she was reported missing. Nano said a neighbor contacted APS that day, prompting the agency to dispatch an investigator to check on Nancy. So I thought someone from church called in that she was missing, or the family. Now, a neighbor contacted Adult Protective Services that day. If FBI and stuff are involved, they can work around proxies and VPNs and all that. So I call BS, says pizza. I don't know. Let's see if many are concerns about YouTube being down. Oh yeah, it was like an outage. Nancy Grace said setbacks in the Nancy Guthrie case are expected. Vine's investigation is just beginning as authorities turn to DNA database. Sheriff Nanos clarified that the business card seen in Nancy Guthrie's door was put there after a neighbor contacted APS that day. But that's what doesn't make sense. Because I thought the church or family member called in, and that's when they went and checked on Nancy, or she didn't show up or something, and then the police were called. But apparently it was the neighbor who reported her missing, and that's when they went and checked on her. Am I reading that wrong or not understanding it? Reminder, FBI has $100,000 reward for Nancy Guthrie. They just posted that 11 hours ago. The Google Nest camera at Nancy's door isn't the only camera at her house, but Google has concerns about accessing the footage. Why would Google have concerns about accessing the footage if it's a missing human that is possibly clearly in danger? I don't think it's possible anymore. Like, she is in danger and doesn't have her meds. I think the neighbor called APS to do a wellness check thinking they would do it right away, but when they didn't, she called the daughter. So Nancy didn't go to church. Is that even true, the whole church thing now? Or did this makes no sense? And you guys, Savannah didn't call the police first either. Savannah called the governor when she found out her mom was missing. Something is not right here. So what? The neighbor saw some person in a suit go to the door, leave a card, so then she calls Savannah. I thought the whole church thing was not true. Zoom church, I know, but I thought that it was the Zoom people who, or maybe she didn't show up in the Zoom, and then the neighbors saw someone, and then they called Savannah. Savannah called the governor. Then they called Nanos. Again, who put that story out first? Annie had to be the first person to call 911 or tell Savannah. Somebody told Savannah, and Savannah told the governor. That's crazy that you're on that good of terms with the governor. She watched a church at a neighbor's house. Oh, so the neighbors, she was supposed to go to the neighbor's house. So then she didn't show up and the neighbor maybe went over there. We're just theorizing here. And then Adult Protective Services left a card. So then the neighbor saw the card. Why is Adult Protective Services leaving a card? Allegedly. Let's watch the Brian Entin clip that he just posted literally minutes ago about with Sheriff Nanos. This will tell us more.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my show. I really, really appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. Video of some of it a little perplexing. I'll get into all of it in this episode of Brian Entin Investigates.
Yeah, but if Nancy was already gone, they would have stepped on the blood if they went to Nancy's house. So the neighbor called Savannah or Annie and said, there's blood. Your mom is not here. And Savannah calls the governor, not 911. If they were doing a wellness check and you think they'd break in the door, the woman, wouldn't they have seen that the doorbell camera was off it was gone? Wasn't it destroyed? One of them they took and one of them was destroyed, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And then there's blood. And then there's like flowers oddly placed at the front door. The neighbor called the daughter. The card was placed after the police were called. That seems odd. Because it's a national case. You would think that Adult Protective Services knows that Nancy Guthrie's missing. Am I just thinking too much into it or what?
Hey guys, so I'm outside the Pima County Sheriff's Office, and again, I'm going to get to that interview with the sheriff in a second, but I wanted to give you all the latest updates from today. Some are pretty significant. First of all, when it comes to DNA, we learned that they put the DNA from the glove that was located about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house. They put the DNA into the FBI CODIS database, which is the database where all of the criminals, their DNA is entered into it. It's a massive federal database. So the DNA was finally entered into the CODIS database and it came back without a match, which is obviously not good news. It's not really what anyone was hoping to hear. And I've also learned that other DNA from this case, from the Nancy Guthrie investigation that was entered into the CODIS database, has come back negative for a match. So at this point...
yeah, I played the dispatch calls, but we don't actually have the call that was like into authorities. Like, oh, she's missing. All I can think about is OJK because of this glove talk. This kills me, no straight answer. Yeah, we can go through the timeline in a second, Abby, after this video.
No matches in
For sure.
POTUS, although I'm told there's still more DNA that they plan to enter into the database. We've also confirmed that they have started the IgG DNA process, which is the investigative genetic genealogy. And if that sounds familiar, that's because that is one of the big things that cracked the Bryan Kohberger case in Idaho, the IgG. And that is essentially when they take the DNA that they have and they put it into these genetic genealogy databases, which is, and if you look back, I've done a couple of episodes on this. This is like when you do those tests at home to get your genealogy and find out who your relatives are and what your background is. They have access to some of those databases, and then they can try to figure out if they can find a match that way. It could be someone's second or third cousin or an aunt or uncle, and then they can try to back into who the suspect is that way. So we suspected they were going to use that technology, and now we've confirmed that they are officially trying the IgG method, although that takes more time. That could take weeks, that could take months. It's not like just traditional DNA comparisons. So we may not have an update on that front anytime soon. I was outside Nancy Guthrie's house for most of the day. There were a couple of interesting things that happened. First of all, there was...
Yeah, that's a good point. So wait, they only did DNA on that one glove, or because I thought they found 16. Oh, what the hell?
A pickup truck and a Subaru that showed up, and the sheriff actually
like,
let
wait.
them through onto the driveway.
Wait, whose DNA was on all the other gloves?
I saw one.
Not mine. Not mine.
At least one man. There were two men, but I saw one man get out. He had almost like a briefcase. Went around the back of the house. They went inside the house, which is the first time I've seen anyone non-law enforcement go in the house that I can remember. I don't know who they were. Some people were speculating that maybe it was a locksmith. I don't know if it was someone that the family sent over to get something from inside, but they were inside for, several minutes. And again, law enforcement let them in, and then they left. So that don't really have much of an explanation for that, but it was kind of interesting. There was also some detectives at Nancy Guthrie's neighbor's house, and they were inspecting what appeared to be like a ring camera there with some floodlights. And the sheriff's office later confirmed that there were detectives in the area, but didn't say exactly what they were doing. I want to play for you my interview with Chris Nanos, the Pima County Sheriff. I was able to meet up with him today in his office. He did a lot of media interviews. We were only given 10 minutes.
Good job, Brian. Tell him to get his shit together.
So, I was only able to ask so many questions. So if you're wondering why I didn't get to more, they basically cut me off at the end. It started off with him telling me, it's kind of awkward for a second. He said, you have questions for me.
I'm literally shocked because even when you're outside like a hospital or something, or when do you ever see gloves laying around? And they used very specific gloves to search. Come on now. Come on. It just, something's not right, and someone's not being very honest about it. There was a vehicle used. No. Apparently they flew her out of the neighborhood. And why did the criminal conveniently leave his glove as well? That makes zero sense. 0 sense.
And this is before the camera started rolling. You have questions for me, and I have questions for you. And he kind of brought up some of my coverage and some of the people who I've interviewed who have had not such great things to say about him. And he was going to address some of those things at the end of the interview, but then we ran out of time because the person who was in charge, like the media sort of handler, was said, "Oh no, 10 minutes is up, you're done." So this is really all the time that I had. But I think what was most interesting is what he said. To me, what was most interesting is what he said about the Google Nest cameras, and they're still trying to get more video. So this is my interview with the sheriff. Thank you for doing this, Sheriff. Appreciate it very much. I know.
And I'm sorry, Google's not having trouble getting that footage. There are cameras everywhere. Identify the car. You don't, and people searching a crime scene would not litter and contaminate the scene. Yeah, it's at that point, why even wear a mask, right? If they were just going to go contaminate the scene and leave their fingerprints everywhere. And they have a partial DNA from inside the house. Okay, so we know Nancy's is inside the house. Who's that partial DNA? Can they even get a hit off that? Never seen them laying around. You know what I mean? I've worked in hospitals and healthcare field. I've never even seen a glove out. Maybe it's the area. I don't know. I don't just see gloves. I guess maybe if somebody's searching, but 16, please. Please. Ring, Nest, Google.
That you and the FBI
Oh, okay. So here's Nanos. Ugh.
done. So this is really all the time that I had. But I think what was most interesting is what he said. To me, what was most interesting is what he said about the Google Nest cameras, and they're still trying to get more video. So this is my interview with the sheriff. Thank you for doing this, Sheriff. Appreciate it very much. I know that you and the FBI were able to get those surveillance photos off the camera in the front of the house.
Yeah.
Any progress on the other cameras? Can you do the same thing?
Boy, I'm hopeful. Here's what happened there. So we, of course, that camera we don't have, right? It was taken, removed from the scene.
Funny how he's not wearing his sheriff outfit.
But we knew it existed, and we asked.
So annoying.
I think it's Google Nest. Google, hey, what can you do with this? And we gave them the other cameras and asked the same. And they said, well, there's not a subscription here. And it is hard because it overwrites itself, right? I don't know how many hours, maybe it's every 36 or 72, whatever it is. But you know what, Sheriff, we'll try. Thank you. Away they went. They came back with this. And I'm going to try to explain this as a simple man that I am. What? They explained it. It's like peeling paint. You have images over images over images, and you want to get to that 8th layer or the 6th layer, and you got to peel back very easily because you might destroy the layer you wanted. So they were able to do that. I said, oh, this is really, that piece of evidence. Oh, they kept it 10 days. No, we all sat here right in our command post with the FBI and went, this is really great stuff. We need this out there. So I don't know that it was here more than 2 hours, and it's only because we had to do some cutting of the way they sent it to us and prepare it to get out to the media, and had to check with Washington, all those things that the FBI had to do as well. And we got it out probably less than 2 hours. And it generated in that first hour for us just alone here at the department, almost 5,000 tips. So it's a great piece of evidence. So there's other cameras. Your question, will we get more? We've asked the Google, hey guys, can you do this? And they said the very same thing. Sheriff, we don't think we can get anything, but we'll try. And that's all we're hopeful.
And so as of now, it's still just the video from the front.
Yes.
Okay. Savannah Guthrie, Nancy's daughter, obviously very famous, loved around the country. Is this really random, or do you think someone may have had a grievance against Savannah? Have you been able to sort that out at all?
Well.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that what we were just talking about last night? We were all saying okay, it's a personal grudge against Savannah too. Maybe Nancy wasn't supposed to go missing. Or maybe she was. Maybe they do want to get back at Savannah and they wanted her money, but Savannah ain't giving up her money. No subscription on the cameras. No, there was no subscription. Mine saves. My footage stays on my it's there. I can go into last week on Monday and see my footage for the day. And I don't pay extra. So I guess if I want for sure backup, then I could pay extra, yeah? Bring Nancy back. Take Annie. Here, take her.
Yeah.
Evie.
Anything's possible, right? I mean, there was
It's
talk.
like that 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆 song. Don't take the girl.
Well, this was a burglary gone bad. This was that. Those things have never come out of this office.
Okay, I don't want to hear you again, Nanos, but I need to rewrite.
You know, a grievance against Savannah. Have you been able to sort that out at all?
You know, well, yeah. Anything's possible, right? I mean, there was talk. Well, this was a burglary gone bad. This was.
Wait, Nanos, you should know to use your words very wisely here. He's not saying no. He's not saying no. He's like, anything is possible. Are ring cameras that popular in the States that most people have them? Yeah, pizza. I would say it's probably one of the more well-known brands out here. I don't have a ring one though. But what she had. Did I just hear 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆 or am I half asleep? I was singing 𝗠𝗲𝗆 to you. Don't take the girl. Hey, Shelby, because yes, anything is possible. Exactly.
But yeah, for me, I just looked at it and said from day one that Nancy was removed from her home against her will. We need to find her.
I know your deputies, detectives are working around.
No. You don't tell me we need to find her.
Because we recognize that anything is possible and we'll allow that evidence to show us what it is. The time to ask that question, motive, is when we actually know who's done this. And so
Okay, wait, let me go back.
we've asked
This is too good.
Google, hey guys, can you do this? And they said the very same thing. Sheriff, we don't think we can get anything, but we'll try. And that's all we're hopeful.
And so as of now, it's still just the video from the front.
Yes.
Okay. Savannah Guthrie, Nancy's daughter, obviously very famous, loved around the country. Is this really random, or do you think someone may have had, like, you know, a grievance against Savannah? Have you been able to sort that out at all?
You know, well, yeah. Anything's possible, right? I mean, there was talk. Well, this was a burglary gone bad. This was that. Those things have never come out of this office because we recognize that anything is possible and we'll allow that evidence to show us what it is. The time to ask that question, motive, is when we actually know who's done this. And so, yeah, I get the speculation, but yeah, for me, I just looked at it and said from day one that Nancy was removed from her home against her will. We need to find her.
I know your deputies, detectives are working around the clock. I mean, we see them, you know. How long can this go on for in terms of the investigation at this level?
Because of the media, really, and that's a good thing, right? Because of the media, we've generated so many leads. I know last Wednesday we had 18,000 leads. The FBI had 14. So you're talking over 30,000. We're probably closer to 40 or 50,000. As long as those leads keep coming, we'll keep at it.
I know you've said you can't, for the investigative reasons, talk about what you found in the house. But
Oh, okay, Shelby. Thank you. Melly, you misunderstood me in the last slide when I asked we were reading. I didn't mean it in a mean way. Oh, okay. No, Shelby, I apologize. Yeah, we're repeating them. I know. Sometimes it gets boring, but we're just redoing it for all the people that wanted it redone. So you're good. No hate, girl. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate that. I apologize if I misunderstood too. 40,000 leads, 40,000 puzzle pieces. In other words, they don't have a clue, pretty much is what I'm getting out of this. Arizona is different than California. You don't see criminals with holsters that often in California. No, you don't. I live in California.
is there a lot in the house that you're not able to say? I mean, is there a lot of evidence we don't know about in terms of this being a crime?
No, again, you're asking me something that I can't talk about. I will tell you this. We removed some biological evidence, prints, DNA, whatever. All of that was removed and sent to the lab. We removed physical evidence, computers, phones, everything, anything we could. And that's submitted to another lab. That was given to the FBI. And why do we give it to the FBI? because we know that they're very good at some of that stuff. And so we share with them that. Why did we give ours to our lab? Because it's what we've done for years, and our lab's always done well. In fact, we've used the FBI before. They're very good at solving things and doing things. But the FBI, not unlike our Department of Public Safety in Phoenix, they have a lab. They could have been used. But we look at it as this. If I use, for example, a state lab, DPS, or the federal lab, Quantico, you have to understand they have others using those labs too. And so it really puts a lot of strain on them to prioritize those cases and do what they can with them, where if I have my own lab or a contract lab.
So clarify now, did they say that they were too busy to take on? Like, I'm confused.
It allows me easier access to those cases that I think are important to us. And I'm not talking this case, I'm just talking cases in general. We could build a lab, but that's pretty expensive too. We just found that this lab we use is very good. Were they in Florida at the time? I have no idea. But I know that in today's world of technology, reports are generated and sent out in the flash of an eye. What we need to know is when we send something to a lab, can we get it back to us quickly? Can we have a rush order, if you will? Well, sometimes I want this now, but the FBI may say, well, we understand that, but New York has a crime, LA has a crime, so it's not against the labs. And so
why would you send it to Florida? There was literally.
When this piece of evidence, we did what we normally do. We sent it to the lab and we did that scene. Then we went and did another scene when we did a search warrant out in Rio Rico. So all of that was gone. Now we find a glove. The FBI says, oh, we can send it to Quantico. And I said, well, you know what? Let's keep it all in one place. Let's just send it all to our lab. No, it's not like, no, FBI's got a bad lab, or no, the Sheriff's Department uses DNL, they're a bad lab. No, it is about keeping your evidence together in one spot. And when that report comes out, it goes to both agencies. It just made sense. In fact, all of this conversation I had with you, when they said, oh, the sheriff blocked evidence, this conversation I had with the FBI lasted probably a minute and a half, and they said, makes sense, Sheriff, and it was done. There's no blocking evidence or just.
So this isn't about Nancy and the DNA. This is about you wanting to clear your name with the whole blocking and.
It's crazy.
Let me ask you. Okay, we've seen the photos from the surveillance camera in the front of the man. Do you think there could be a second suspect?
You saw what I saw. We know he is a bad dude. He's who we want. Is there somebody else working with him? I don't know that. We'll know it when we find him.
The TMZ letters. I've lost count of how many they've received. TMZ.
Wait, you guys, is this for real? And that lady in the background, talk like that to my guy Brian one more time. I swear, we're gonna have a lot of problems. Wheels on the bus go round and round. Yeah, did you hear? She's like, 2 more questions. No, we have more questions, ma'am. Seems he knows nothing. Yeah, let's listen to that again.
So yeah, the ransoms type things or those kinds of.
And I know FBI is investigating that part, right?
Correct.
But
answer, just crazy.
Let me ask you. Okay, we've seen the photos from the surveillance camera in the front of the man. Do you think there could be a second suspect?
You saw what I saw. We know he is a bad dude. He's who we want. Is there somebody else working with him? I don't know that. We'll know it when we find him.
The TMZ letters. I've lost count of how many they've received. TMZ, they've been receiving these letters claiming that it's from someone involved.
So yeah, the ransoms type things or those kinds of letters.
And I know FBI is investigating that part, right?
Correct.
But do you think they're legit? Because it seems like every day they're on TV with a new letter.
Again, you want to go to your experts, right? It would be irresponsible for me to give my opinion on something that we've given to the FBI to look into. That's the.
Wait, so Brian's basically asking him, like, is TMZ bullshit? And he's like, go ask the FBI.
Correct.
But do you think they're legit? Because it seems like every day they're on TV.
You know,
with a new
Okay,
letter.
hold on. I'm rewinding again. We're analyzing this.
You saw what I saw. We know he is a bad dude. He's who we want. Is there somebody else working with him? I don't know that. We'll know it when we find him.
The TMZ letters, I've lost count of how many they've received. TMZ, you know, they've been receiving these letters claiming that it's from someone involved.
So yeah, the ransoms type things or those kinds of letters.
And I know FBI is investigating that part, right?
Correct.
But do you think they're legit? Because it seems like every day they're on TV
You know,
with a new letter.
Again, you want to go to your experts, right? It would be irresponsible of me to give my opinion on something that we've given to the FBI to look into. That's their bailiwick. We'll let them handle that.
And the search warrants, we saw the one in Rio Rico, and then we saw the one close to, I think, 2 miles from Nancy's house on Friday night. Does that mean that you all believe the suspect could be close? Because it seems like the action we're seeing so far is right in the Tucson area.
So how those develop is this, and you may see it today. It may not be anything today. You may see 5 of them today. But what happens is this. We have 400 investigators out there from all agencies, not just in this valley, the 10 different law enforcement agencies, but some from Phoenix and FBI from across the country. And they're out there shaking down leads, 40-some thousand leads. Every morning they get up and they're working 24/7. So they start with a little lead and they're told, go check on this. And that lead develops. And as they move through it, it grows and grows like a snowball, just getting bigger and bigger, to a point where they go, you know what? I think we've developed a person of interest. I think we've got something here that maybe we need to go back and brief on. So they come back in and they talk to the command post who's there. U.S. attorney, county attorneys, different law people behind different areas of law who sit back and discuss it and say, you know what, maybe there's enough here for a search warrant. Maybe we got to get petition for physical characteristics. Maybe that characteristic is a photo. Maybe it's buccal cells. Maybe it's finger, whatever it is. And we present it to a judge. And a judge says, yeah, I think there's enough. He signs it. That's how that snowballs. And everybody's energetic and they're so enthused. I wish you could see the face of the young men and women out there who are working these and all the energy, because it's what happens in investigations, particularly bigger investigations, where they're so excited, probably like you are. We've got a good lead, we're going to, and then it falls through. It's not the person. Nancy's not at that house. But that's part of the ebbs and flows of an investigation. You're going to have those highs and lows. So for me, that's what's important, that I dispel some of the things that are out there.
Wow.
So my team knows that, no. They're a solid team. This is a team who solves crime every day. They are my experts. I would be silly to not listen to them. When they tell me we spent 20-some hours at this scene, we processed this scene, I'm taking their word that they're good. I don't need to hear from some pundit out there who's never done a crime scene.
Wow.
I don't need to hear from somebody who's never done a criminal investigation. I've got experts. That's who I choose to listen to. Just like the noise in the background, the critics who want to run for office. Go do that stuff. I just want to find Nancy.
He's talking shade about that guy the other night that JLR interviewed. Remember the one that was that works for him? That's running. Oh my goodness, how petty. I'm gonna have to find that interview so we can rewatch it again. That is like, I'm so done with the sheriff, you guys.
Choose
I'm
to listen
sorry.
to. Just like the noise in the background, the critics who want to run for office.
What?
I have
Yeah, run for
100% faith
office.
they will solve this case. If you're the guy, if you're that monster, you should be worried. You should let her go. When
Shut
they
up,
tell
dude.
me we spent 20-some hours at this scene, we processed this scene, I'm taking their word that they're good. I don't need to hear from some pundit out there who's never done a crime scene. I don't need to hear from somebody who's never done a criminal investigation. I've got experts. That's who I choose to listen to. Just like the noise in the background, the critics who want to run for office. Go do that stuff. I just want to find Nancy. I want my team focused every morning. When they hit that low, that they know that they have someone who believes in them and their work. They're going to do it. I have 100% faith they will solve this case. If you're the guy, if you're that monster, you should be worried. You should let her go. Just let her go.
Are you getting closer?
I think we are. I think we are. But I have to have that belief, right? I have to have that faith. Every day, we'll keep at it. We ain't quitting.
Appreciate the sheriff for making the time to talk with me. Again, I know he's done a lot of media interviews, and I was glad that I was able to get one of them today, and that was on News Nation, of course. And hopefully I'll get more opportunities to talk to him in the future, because like I told him, you know, there were some things that he didn't like about some of my reporting, and, you know, I always want to get both sides, so I'm happy to have him respond to what some people are saying about, you know, being critical of his sort of the way he's been handling the case. And, you know, I always like to get both sides. So hopefully I'll get more opportunities to interview him. I want to go back to what I was telling you guys about the DNA and the fact that the FBI says that there were no links in CODIS.
I'm like, maybe do a press conference. The way he just tried to clear his name and then basically address that drama is so petty to me. Like, it's a national case. That's what you're going to go on there and do. The Guthrie family should be disappointed.
What I found particularly interesting about that is that the FBI told us that. I mean, why would they give us a small update like that? Why would they need to tell the public and the media that there were no specific links in CODIS? I went to my friend, retired FBI agent Steve Moore, to talk to him about that and some of the other updates that came today in the case. I'm joined now by Steve Moore, retired FBI agent. It's nice to see you, Steve. It's always good to chat with you. First of all, I wanted to ask you, the sheriff is now saying that they put the DNA from the gloves that were found about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house into the CODIS system finally, and that there was no match, and that all of the DNA they put in so far, apparently there have been no matches. What do you make of that? Does that surprise you? I mean, because it seems like bad news.
Well, it doesn't, excuse me, it doesn't surprise me. It disappoints me a little bit, but CODIS, is kind of a new thing, relatively. I mean, it's not like fingerprints that have been around for, over 100 years. So what the problem is that every state, like when you get arrested, when a person gets arrested, you've seen it. It's standard. They fingerprint, they send it off. Everybody's got fingerprints in there. You get it for passports. Everybody's got fingerprints on file. Hardly anybody's got DNA on file. And right now, every arrestee in every 50 state, or every one of the 50 states, do not immediately get put in CODIS. And so, there are crimes in all of the 50 states for which you will get your DNA popped in the CODIS database, but only on conviction for some of them. Although Arizona, as soon as you're arrested for a felony, it's my understanding that they will get a DNA swab with your fingerprinting and send it to CODIS.
So these would just be people who have been arrested who are in this database?
Predominantly. I mean, DNA is not something that they use for any other purpose. Like fingerprints, they use to identify you for passports or things like that, or even sometimes just a document and getting it certified. So DNA is only a criminal database at this point.
So you remember, Steve, that yesterday the sheriff put out this statement, vehemently denying that the Guthries had anything to do with, they were cleared. He used the word cleared, the siblings and their spouses. So they put out another statement today where they talked about this CODIS development, but then they also included a section about the Guthrie family. And they said, in criminal investigations, evidence is examined to either build a case or clear individuals. At this point in the investigation, the Guthrie family, including siblings and spouses, has not been identified as suspects. What I thought was interesting is they're saying at this point in the investigation, where yesterday they were just more vague. What do you make in general of the sheriff, clearly saying that they've been cleared? Is that unusual?
Yeah, it's very unusual,
Oh.
and probably had to do a lot with social media, where people are actually going out there and naming names and doing stuff like that. What's interesting to me is he said they were cleared, and then they had to walk that back a little bit and say they're not suspects at this time.
Yep.
When you say somebody is cleared, first of all, you have to know a lot about the crime. It's kind of like, say if you had a crime and you didn't know the actual time of the crime, then anybody's alibi is useless to you. So you can't say, they're cleared by their alibi. In the same way with this case, even though we know time, we don't know a lot more case, at least the public doesn't. So I couldn't understand how they had enough information to clear them. Now, if you tell me that right now they're not suspects, that I can understand. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But that doesn't mean technically that they couldn't be down the road. I think what the sheriff is saying is that he doesn't believe they had anything to do with this. And that's as close as he can come to clearing them functionally.
And I want to go back. There's something else I thought of with CODIS that I wanted to ask you about that I was thinking of you earlier. Is it unusual that the FBI is giving these updates saying, oh, we tested it and it's not in CODIS? Like would they normally be giving us such a specific update? And then the thing it made me think of is, could it mean that they are closing in on someone and they don't want that person to realize that?
Yeah, that's
maybe.
a very, very good possibility.
Mhm.
And yes, it is highly unusual. Those are the kind of that's the kind of information that you, instead of sending to the public, you post up to your supervisor and say, giving him updates on the case daily. For the FBI to be doing this is extraordinary, in my opinion. And two potential reasons for this is, one, as we've discussed before, the sheriff has a bigger dog in this fight than the FBI does. This is his community. He has to live here. He has to get reelected here. And so he may have negotiated some kind of agreement where the FBI or he could provide more information. But on the other hand, society has changed since I joined the FBI and since I retired. Things are rapidly moving into the point where everybody has, as I said on one of the other broadcasts, their own home version of the game, and they are all playing and they are all talking to each other about it. And the world now, in absence of information, will create reality. And so I think what the FBI is trying to do is keep the dust down a little bit on that. And I think what you're seeing here, and go back in 10 years, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think this is a sea change in law enforcement, where you can't just ignore the public and do your job anymore because they're not patient enough to wait for it.
We confirmed yesterday, Steve, that the FBI was going to gun stores in Tucson with a list of 40 names.
We can all agree that them clearing the family was absolutely wild. Yeah, a red herring. I agree, Alicia.
And also 40 photos, and asking employees to run the name, see if they had done any business there and if they recognized the people. And the first thing I thought of was like, wow, 40 names. Does that mean that those are 40 people who they think could be involved?
Yeah. Well, it could be that 2 or 3 of them are stiffed in there and they know it's not those persons. You don't want to give somebody a set of photos and they can't help but pick somebody who is guilty of something. So occasionally you will put somebody in there in photos that is not involved, but usually that's for photo IDs. It could be that there are 40, and it goes back to what I've been the FBI has not been sitting around the phone saying, I can't wait for that tip to come in. You know, pick up the phone every time it rings. No, the FBI is investigating this case with what they've got. And while the number 40 is a big number and kind of surprises me, I wouldn't have blinked at 10 to 20. So this tells me that there's a lot of work going on, and that there are 40 people right now, potentially, who they have not been able to clear, that they have not been able to determine are not involved, and have some something about them or their actions that gives the FBI pause.
Anything I'm missing, Allison, that's new over the last day?
Yes, we haven't had them clear any of the suspects, any of the people that were detained. We just had them released. We also have them looking for a gun. So that's another lead. It looks like there's a lot more going on. I think you should say something about that, because it's sounding like there isn't, but there is a lot more going on than I think that we even know. I mean, what you reported yesterday was totally new, but clearly that gun, you know, they looked at the gun. They're probably let the holster too. Let Steve address like what leads we're looking at, so we have just sort of a list.
Yeah, I mean, what other leads do you think that they're looking at right now? I mean, we obviously know that they were going to the gun stores. I mean, do you think the backpack they're still trying to track down? Would it be the holster? Like, what else comes to mind for you?
Yeah, the holster, all the clothes he was wearing, and everything I've seen so far, every piece of clothing that's been identified has been something that's sold at Walmart. So I think right now, you know, they're going to the gun stores with the information that they have on the gun that they believe he was carrying. And at the same time, I'd be surprised if there wasn't 10 agents in Bentonville, Arkansas, with their own little office, going through all the digital sales records of Walmart to find one time where 3 or 4 of these, you know, the backpack, the holster, the coat, were purchased all at once. And once they find that, you know, it's going to move fast.
And the sheriff said today clearly that the federal search warrant from Friday night, those people were detained. There were no arrests. They've all been released. But he said the investigation is ongoing. What do you think is happening behind the scenes still in relation to that?
They haven't told us why they hit that place, but the fact that they hit it with an evidence response team means to me that it was that they believed that location was involved in the crime. Whether or not it is or is not, they have not discussed, but they are not saying that it's not, which is significant. When you go to somebody's house and, you know, people know the address, and people online are making posting people's names and stuff like that, it would behoove the FBI to say this was not involved in the crime. We have determined that. They haven't said that, which leads me to believe that there was something that they were searching for, and they either found it or they are not convinced that it's not going to be there.
And there's also a Range Rover that they towed away, which I guess they're still processing at this point.
Yeah, and if they're still processing that 3 or 4 days later, it's either they're processing the heck out of that thing and tearing it apart, or they found what they wanted and they're not going to release that back to the people who owned it. I think the fact that they still have that is significant, and if they don't let it go in the next few days, I think we can assume that that's now evidence. And if they know a car, they've got just about everything. I would say that you know, with all the evidence coming together, I think we're getting so close. I thought the glove itself was kind of a Hail Mary, and I don't think that's I'm not surprised that hasn't come through for them, but I don't think they're pending on that. I think if that was their number one piece of evidence, they wouldn't have talked about it publicly.
As always, I really appreciate.
Okay. How long can they keep a car for? I guess that would be good to know. Let's look at this video. Michael Ruiz, who is boots on the ground too, I think he posted this video of detectives. You can hear JLR in the background. I think these are the detectives or something that showed up earlier. Okay, JLR, calm down.
Next door neighbors. If you look at Nancy's house, it's on the right side. You're staring. Just remember days ago, law enforcement was looking in the septic tank, manhole, in between ours. They were there looking on there.
I wonder what that's about. Let's see what they're saying. It says they're coming out right now. That's being narrated because I would have never guessed mocking them. The man who was there loading boxes is an employee for Virgo Gem Co. Oh, there was a gem show? Oh no. Oh, they're saying something about a gem show. Why did Nancy like going to gem shows? That was funny. That boy is cleaning up Arizona. If they want to keep the vehicle, they'll find a way. Forever if it's evidence. Oh. Wow. Well, sucks for them. Looks like they're not getting back their Range Rover anytime soon. Let's go over this 4-minute clip by Nancy Grace.
Now the host of Crime Stories on Fox 1, Nancy Grace. I'll start with the same question that I did ask Harvey. 16 days in, I never give up hope. I know you never give up hope, but you broke my heart on radio. You broke my heart on this show last night, Nancy. You live this, and you could see the stress, and you know what the human toll is on Savannah and her family. And I just don't give up hope. And, I find myself turning on the TV at night, hoping that I'm going to see that Nancy's been found and reunited, will soon be reunited with her family. I'm just hoping for that headline. I know you are too.
Let me ask you something, Sean. Did you ever think that this was going to be easy? Because it's not, and it's not going to be easy to solve this case. There are going to be many, many more setbacks than there will be advances in this case. The fact that that glove around 2 miles away from her home did not get a CODIS hit, okay, fine. Next. Now we take that DNA and we compare it in the Arizona data bank. The Arizona data bank is much more lenient in what it allows. For instance, mixtures of DNA, degraded DNA, co-defendant, suspect, DNA on crime scenes that haven't been solved. The National Data Bank has a very, very high bar as to what can be allowed into the CODIS data bank. See what I'm saying? So we may have a good chance at the Arizona data bank, which has over 500,000 DNA profiles. So, hey, I don't want to smell the stench of defeat tonight. This is just starting. This is one setback. And let me talk to you some more about DNA. And I've tried many DNA cases. The DNA in the home has yet to be mined. Think about it, Sean. You and I, frame for frame, we looked at the porch guy. Remember? Do you remember? Yes, he had on gloves. but he kept touching the holster of his gun. And more important, he kept touching the bite light, which was drenched in his saliva. Now, let's follow that through to its logical conclusion, Sean. He touches that glove. Then he takes that glove and he touches the doorknob. Remember at the get-go?
Yeah, Nancy, but okay, so they should know who it is then. If his saliva was there, we should know now.
The lights were on in the front of her home, which is unusual. He turned on the light switch. He opened her doorknob after drenching his hand with saliva. That is how touch DNA works. Just because we didn't hit a home run the first time we went up at bat on that glove found out by the side of the road, I am not dissuaded this case will be solved. As we go to air tonight, right now, Google is being mined for the rest of the cameras in her home. It's happening. That DNA is going to be mined tonight for genetic testing. And you go way, way back. You go to people coming over on the Mayflower, for Pete's sake, to get the genealogy down. And I want to point to the first time it was used, Joseph DeAngelo, the Golden State Killer, a cop. You think he had DNA in the databank? No, he didn't. But he was caught. A rapist and a killer was caught through genetic genealogy. It's real, it's happening, and all I need is one person in some of those databanks, and it will be solved. And remember also, in Brian Kohberger, they did dip into private genetic testing. You know, like when you do 23andMe or Ancestry.com, that was a big problem at trial. Now, regarding this array, this photo array that's being shown to gun store owners, that tells me that they have an idea of who they're looking for. Somebody that has bought a gun, and I don't know that they would buy at a traditional gun store, so that may be a fail, but I see what they're looking for, who they're looking for. Somebody that bought a gun, somebody with a holster like that, somebody that shops at Walmart. We're narrowing it down. It's going to happen, Sean. We are going to find this guy.
I really hope, Nancy Grace, that you're right.
One more thing I want to talk about regarding DNA, how they find it. Remember when that tent was erected around the front of Nancy Guthrie's porch? Well, you have to have darkness or semi-darkness to find DNA. With a UV light source, for instance, it's not hard to do.
Oh.
That's how they find the touch DNA in the home and around that porch. And I think that's where they got a lot of the touch DNA.
What do you think of the 4 letters? Because they got more specific and they all had the same Bitcoin account and gave more details, including as close to proof of life as we've gotten in the entire case in that last letter yesterday to Harvey Levin.
One thing I find encouraging about those letters is the fact that they never offered inconsistent details. They added details, but they were never inconsistent. There is no way authorities can ignore the letters being sent to TMZ. But now, for Pete's sake, the reward is up to $200,000. A private lawyer, last name I think is Hoopy, is putting up, a PI lawyer is putting up $100,000. So,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that part. A lawyer, no, Alicia, I'm not. A lawyer put up $100,000. I can't stand Nancy. I know, but sometimes she knows what she's talking about. I do really like Nancy. I know not everybody does. She's a little much. I didn't know that. A PI lawyer put up $100,000. Where's Savannah? Why does the $50 to $80 million daughter not putting up more money too?
to hey with the Bitcoin, you know something? Go get the $200,000 reward. There's no way they can ignore those. It's a rat ratting out a rat. They cannot ignore that. They must chase it down. And you're right. It is a gumshoe at this point. What's wrong with that? I've walked through many a housing project at 10 o'clock at night looking for witnesses and more. What is wrong with that? That's the way cases are solved. And that's how this is going to get solved.
You know, you're a wealth of knowledge and hope, and your hope springs out of real life experience.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Agent. Agent says most likely it came from family and they used him for reward. Maybe it's a PI that they know and are working with undercover. We're gonna go through the timeline in a bit if you guys want.
So when I asked that question, Ainsley, I didn't know about the glove, but what I did know is that the sheriff had made a statement that they had retrieved DNA from the source that was most likely donated by the perpetrator. He said at the time that they were putting a rush on it and expected to get any matches between 12 to 14 hours. When I asked that question, it was about 3 days later. So my logic was, okay, you didn't get a one-to-one match in the CODIS database. Are you submitting it for the genealogical investigation that can get you potentially to a family member, even a far-flung family member? That takes a lot of investigative muscle, the kind of thing that the FBI can really bring. Knowing those nuances, I purposely asked the FBI agent, and what I was trying to ascertain is, clearly we were already at that point. Is the FBI doing it? And then you saw the response. The FBI agent looked a little taken aback and said, Pima County is handling it. I assume that meant he knew at the time the glove was already down in Florida. And that is a potential problem here. One glove. Normally you find two gloves together, right? She has one glove in the house. I assume they can see the size. It's leather. It's something that she doesn't seem to have. This is crucial evidence. And it is a little bit strange that the impulse was not, let me get this immediately to Quantico, get this thing tested by CODIS, and then if it doesn't work out, we go the more penetrative route, which might ultimately yield the kind of results we're hoping for.
Well, I mean, if they really think that's gonna help, that's great. All for it, because it's day 17, guys, of Nancy Guthrie being missing. Let's watch Brianna Whitney in this CNN clip.
The sheriff is saying about genealogy. Brianna Whitney, a reporter with Arizona's 3 TV and CBS 5 and host of True Crime Arizona Live. All right, Brianna, there is no DNA hit in the FBI databases. So then describe what the sheriff is saying about genealogy testing.
Yeah, that's the direction that we expected him to go and the FBI to go as well. So once they don't get that hit, basically there was no convicted felon that DNA profile matched to. We assume they'd go to familial DNA and investigative genetic genealogy, which is basically going back and looking at these markers in a family tree type setting and almost working backwards. The missing link there would then be the actual profile that you have. But that also requires people uploading their DNA profiles to certain databases online. And you have to hope that maybe there's going to be a match that way. That is, if the
yeah. So people have to be in there to be able to match.
Glove is even involved at all in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance.
And that's a big if. We have not confirmed that that is in fact the case. We're still waiting to figure that out. But if it is, what a huge development. If it's not, has this been a rabbit hole? Well, there's a new focus, of course, a sustained focus, really, Brianna, on the gun. What more have you learned about the effort to try and trace that to the suspect?
So it seems in addition to the DNA efforts, the FBI has specifically zeroed in on trying to investigate gun shops in the Tucson area, literally going door to door, talking to gun shop owners about their sales in the last year. So, I mean, you go back and you think a year, that's a long time to go back and look, but they've seemingly gone into these gun shops with pictures of potential people of interest. Some gun shop owners that are stationed in Tucson talked to, there was like 18 to 24 different photographs, and they were going through them and through them and through them. And that's when that shop owner was like, yeah, this looks a lot like the guy that was on the surveillance video. So it seems that a lot of those pictures of people that the FBI is taking is people that have that mustache, kind of that facial hair that's recognizable from the surveillance video. But so far, we don't know anything more about that. It just seems they're trying to trace back where that gun may have came from.
Brianna, any information as to why they were back in Guthrie's neighborhood today?
Not on the record. I mean, you could see it out there, right? And we could tell that investigators were out there, what looked to be inspecting surveillance cameras on the outside of the neighbor's home. This was the next door neighbor. Also even looking at some of the floodlights that were out there. So you have to assume they're looking for extra footage. A question as to how and why that's happening on day 17, you would obviously think that would happen on day one of
Yeah.
her disappearance and getting out there to the scene. But maybe there's something new that they learned, so they wanted to go back and re-review. Maybe there's a Google or a surveillance service that they want to go back and try to retrieve other video there too. I mean, we just don't know. I think something that would definitely help, obviously, is getting the video from Nancy's house, but also any other possible video from that street, like a suspect vehicle or anything like that. And I hope that they can release more surveillance video from any of that this week.
Brianna Whitney, thank you so much.
Wow. They're just now getting that camera footage. That's crazy. For what, Alicia? What do we need to look for over there? I want to watch that clip about, remember the sheriff that was talking about Nanos? I want to rewatch that clip.
He's
I found
also
it.
the union president, so he has protections and can speak
So this is the guy that was talking about Nanos and that Nanos just addressed.
more freely. He's not on the inside of the Nancy Guthrie investigation at all, so he can't speak about what's happening from the inside of the investigation, but he has a ton of expertise when it comes to this area. He's been with the sheriff's office for almost 20 years, and he also is able to talk about and openly, which is difficult here because people are nervous to talk badly about the sheriff who are still working there, but he can talk about concerns that the deputies have about the sheriff, about the way the investigation has been handled, and why he thinks the FBI should have been brought in sooner. So listen to my conversation with Sergeant Cross. The first thing I wanted to ask you about was just this new FBI statement that I showed you. First of all, apparently there's a lot of gloves that have been found.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? I mean, I guess these gloves are used for all sorts of purposes, it seems.
It is pretty common. It could be from investigators. It could also be, I mean, we have a large amount of homeless that live and camp in the area. We also have, we've experienced a lot of nighttime car break-ins in this area as well. So, I mean, it could be from any one of those things. Hopefully it's related to the Guthrie kidnapping or incident, and they're able to get some DNA out of it, and it breaks the case open. But I understand it was found a couple miles away. Hopefully, as he's driving away, he throws his gloves out the window. Maybe we'll get a lucky break, but there's a lot of possibilities.
It just seems like that would be a dumb thing to do, though. I mean, if you're the suspect,
yeah,
why wouldn't you bury them or hold on to them? You
Yeah,
know?
it seems very unusual. He seemed to be very prepared and very careful, at least on the video that was released, and so it would seem very out of character for what we're able to see. But you know, hopefully we'll get lucky.
And you are a sergeant with the Pima County Sheriff's Office and
Yes,
also the union president.
Yes, sir.
So you're able to talk to us about some of these issues with the department because you're protected.
Correct.
By which is why we haven't really been able to talk to anyone else within the.
Yeah, I can speak on matters of public concern.
Yeah.
And have some protections from that.
Do you ever get nervous about retaliation?
Oh, all the time. I'm sure I'll be drugged in to answer questions about this very interview.
Okay.
So,
what is since you have your pulse, I mean, how many deputies did you say are in your union?
This guy, I like him.
So we have a little over 300 out of the about 396 detectives and deputies in the department.
So almost everybody.
Yes, sir.
So what is the feeling right now within the department? I mean, you guys have the eyes of the world on you.
Yeah, it's tough. The deputies, they haven't been impacted as much. The detectives, though, they're working, I mean, some of them are working 8 days straight. Some of them have put in 70, 80-hour weeks for the last couple of weeks. So they're doing everything possible to try and solve this crime. They're working very hard, sacrificing a lot of time with their families, and they're doing everything they can. But it's definitely taken a toll a little bit. You can tell when you speak with them. There's a little bit of burnout. I get that sense. They haven't vocalized that to me, but you can tell it's been a lot. And working 80 hours a week, 70 hours a week, that's a tall order.
And a lot of pressure. I mean, everybody wants to find Nancy, you know?
Certainly, yeah. The whole, it feels like the whole world, or at least the nation, that their eyes are on us. And so there's a lot of pressure internally as well as externally to try and solve this quickly.
Is it true, and I've just heard this from some people around the sheriff's office, that the homicide team is pretty inexperienced right now?
They're pretty new, and that goes for really all the departments. So we have 96 deputies.
So a new team is working the case?
I'm sorry, 96 detectives. 45 of them are detective ones.
meaning they're pretty new. Inside the unit, I think the person that has the most experience inside that unit has 3 years in homicide. And then some of them are more experienced detectives. They just haven't been in homicide. So there's been a lot of turnover. Another example is that our deputies, we have 195 deputies in patrol. 101 are on probation, meaning they have less than a year. We've experienced several waves of exodus of deputies going to other agencies or retiring early to go work somewhere else. So we're feeling the consequences of that, both on the detective side and in patrol.
Yeah, that's kind of alarming when you think about a case this complicated.
Very.
And we know the sheriff's office is still technically in charge.
Hey, Pumpkin Pie. Wow, I've been on here less than 5 minutes and I went back to hear what you started talking about first. I came here to ask about questions about Savannah's husband and you said what I've been saying. Yeah, sus.
And you'd think there'd be people with decades of experience.
Yes. And if this case happened 10 years ago, we would have a lot more experience to handle it. However, I mean, like I said, we only have 96 detectives compared to something like the FBI. They could bring thousands of investigators that they could pull from across the country. So we're a medium-sized department, and of course there are limitations that come with that.
Have there been frustrations on the inside about the way this has been handled?
A little bit. They vocalized some of that to me. A lot of it is just some of the decision making from the top makes them look incompetent, and a lot of those decisions weren't theirs. And so I agree with one of Sheriff Nanos's versions was that we gave up the scene probably a little too early. And perhaps we could have kept that locked down, maybe with the permission of the family, could have put up crime scene tape after the search warrant was concluded, just with the understanding, hey, we're probably going to have to come back.
We all agreed about the crime scene not being properly handled.
Out here, is it okay if we keep people out and see if the family would have agreed with that and put up that security to keep people away, just to maintain that crime scene as pristine as possible.
What about this relationship with the FBI? Because we've heard from FBI sources that it hasn't been good. You know, I even heard a couple nights ago there was some critical information that wasn't shared with Ebola that they just didn't tell the FBI about.
Yeah.
And then, you know, this whole issue with the lab.
Yeah.
It's going to Florida, whereas the FBI is, why isn't some of this stuff going to Quantico?
Yeah.
Where does that stem from?
So my opinion is that this comes from 2016. I think when Sheriff Nanos was investigated, when he was interim sheriff back then, I think that investigation caused a lot of the icy relationship that.
You guys remember that? I talked about, I think there was he had problems with the FBI before Nanos. We've been doing a live every day. So it's probably like a couple days ago.
We see today. I don't, he holds grudges and took that as a shot. And I think that he hasn't forgotten it. And I think that's driving some of the decision making that's going on right now.
Do you think the relationship is getting better at all, though? Because when we went out to the search warrant, I guess that was on Friday night. You know, the FBI was there for that. It was and it was your SWAT team, but then it was an FBI search warrant, federal search warrant. I mean, do you think they're trying to mend that now, or what's your sense?
If there's any efforts to mend the fences between them, it's only because of public pressure for him to do so. But I think that this case, what worries me is I'm worried that this case has become an ego case for him, and that this is our chance to one-up the FBI or to show that we're as good as the FBI. And I'm not sure that should be driving the decision-making. We have very capable, hardworking detectives. However, it's like I said before, we're a medium-sized agency. We just simply don't have the manpower, the assets, the funding that something like the FBI could bring to bear.
What happened with, I've heard some rumblings about the search plane and the pilot, I think, or do you know much about that situation?
Yes, sir. It was a pilot / TFD, the tactical flight deputy. So our plane has two people in it. It's the pilot and the person behind him who is operating the high definition cameras, the FLIR, all that. And so there was a pilot / TFD who was normally assigned to work that day with a pilot. However, he was transferred the week before, I believe on January 25th. And he was transferred back to patrol. And as a result of that, he was not replaced. And so as a result of that, the plane was not able to be used immediately. From what I understand from people who worked that day, the helicopter was initially used because there was a pilot at the hangar and a helicopter pilot. So they jumped in the helicopter and responded. And that has some benefit. When you fly a helicopter around a missing person, oftentimes people, they go out of their house to go, what's going on? Why is their helicopter flying so low around the neighborhood? And so when you get people out of their houses, sometimes they'll see a disoriented elderly person or someone in need, a small child, and they'll call 911. However, eventually they called the TFD out that day, and then they flew back to the hangar, I understand, and then got the plane out of the hangar and got it overhead. But that took 2 or 3 hours from what I understand.
So did the sheriff have an issue? You said the person was transferred out.
Yes, sir.
Do you know why?
There's a minor demeanor complaints with the pilot. I think he'd been around 17 years, and there's some demeanor complaints in behavior with his interactions with some other people inside the unit that, in my opinion, could have been handled a little differently. He received informal discipline and then was transferred. I think that informal discipline and perhaps a special observation probation would have been more appropriate and would have kept that asset, which is that plane is the most valuable law enforcement asset in southern Arizona. And if it moved to Phoenix, it would be the most valuable asset in Phoenix. It's that good.
Yeah, I've seen it. It has the monitors in the back. It's
fantastic.
It's impressive. I saw some pictures
It's fantastic.
of it. Yeah.
And all the local agencies around us, whenever it's available, they want to use it for any of their cases. It's extremely valuable. And so I feel like handling that a little bit differently would have kept that plane ready and addressed the problem with the employee. But that decision was made differently.
So that deputy is a deputy, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he had 17 years of experience
flying
with that kind of work.
Yes, sir.
And he hasn't been able to work this case?
Correct. And he started as a TFD that we then made into a pilot. So he had 17 years in the air unit, I should clarify.
Okay.
But he'd been a long-time pilot, was a long-time TFD, and was very good at his job.
So he could be helpful right now.
Yes.
Oh,
that
wow.
day, they would have been up quickly, and perhaps the searchers, because when this first came out, we initially believed that it was an elderly person who may have bumped their head or something and walked away. And so having that plane up with its capabilities would have allowed the search and rescue team to, in my opinion, more quickly realize that she's not in the area. And maybe we need to start looking somewhere else and thinking about this differently, especially considering the blood drops.
Tell me a little bit about, I read about a no confidence vote for the sheriff.
Yes,
when was that?
That was, if my memory serves me correctly, it was in 2024, early 2024, I believe. And we took
this is not good. This issue, him and Nanos.
an anonymous no confidence vote or confidence vote, and it returned, except for one vote, it was unanimous no confidence in Sheriff Nanos. And that was done to kind of try and get the word out to the public, to the voting public in Pima County, that we've got some real issues in this department.
And that's I mean, so everyone except for one person in the union said no confidence.
Yes, sir. And my opinion
So
is,
he works for the department. He's saying that there's a lot of issues, and then Nanos is like, we're so close, and gives no information, and I'm just not a fan of Nanos.
he probably didn't understand the
I think
vote.
Nanos
made
is out of pocket.
a mistake.
So what are they, I mean, so why don't they like him?
Well, I think former Chief Deputy Castigar kind of gave you some insight into the issues going on with Sheriff Nanos. He has an ego that's difficult to describe without sounding hyperbolic, and it drives a lot of his decision making. He's very retaliatory, and their favorite version of retaliation is through transfers, which has impacted nearly every unit in this department and decreased our overall readiness, in my opinion. Nearly every unit, the experience and expertise that was there was transferred out for whatever reason, and there are real impacts to that, and it lowered morale. And so there was a lot of hope that in the election in 2024 that we would have a change at leadership, and when that didn't come to pass, very close, but when it didn't come to pass, that's when we started seeing these mass exodus of deputies and detectives.
How close was it?
471 votes.
So he lost by 400. He won by 471 votes.
Yeah, 471, 481, less than 500.
Okay.
It was so close it had to have a mandatory recall per the Arizona state law.
And you mentioned the transfers,
Oh, wow.
and you said it was like discipline by transfer. Is that what happened to you?
Oh, yes, sir. So I, when I became president in 2023 of our union, I initially decided, hey, let's take a morale poll. And so we did a morale poll. It came back pretty low. And it came
Whoa,
back with
he's the president of the union and is clearly saying that Nanos is not.
comments, and I thought that those comments would be beneficial to someone in a position of leadership. So I quietly compiled them on a professional letter and sent them to Sheriff Nanos, just put it in his basket, and he could have thrown it away. However, he took exception to that and responded by transferring me to a position to hurt my family. That was confirmed to me later by former Chief Deputy Castigar.
What do you mean?
Wow.
So I was on midnights because I had small children and my wife worked during the day. They knew that. And about 7 months before, one of his chiefs threatened me to move me off midnights. And I explicitly reminded them that I'm on midnights for my family. But when I sent that letter, they responded by transferring me to a day shift so that I would not have that time with my children.
And did you get transferred to like an office job at that time? Or
That is so messed up. Total retaliation.
Sure.
So what you don't even, how much experience do you have?
I
a freaking union president and he's doing desk
This will be
job.
my 26th year. I am the second most senior sergeant in the department.
But you're not out on the street?
No. He has me taking calls, phone reports. So if your garden hose gets stolen and you want to make a phone report, I'm handling those currently.
Is that feel demeaning? I mean, with all the experience you have?
I'm the first and only sergeant in the history of our department ever working that position. It's normally reserved for injured deputies so they can still work while they're recovering from their injuries.
So I've covered, I've interviewed unions before, like with a lot of different things. And sometimes, a lot of times the unions don't like the boss.
Yes, sir.
Or it's about pay.
Yes, sir.
So that's not uncommon, but is this different, do you think, than other places where, because the unions always seem to have some kind of issue. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree. And oftentimes you do hear of unions. They're always lobbying for increased pay. And certainly we lobby for that as well. But no one came to the Pima County Sheriff's Department because they were going to get paid the most. However, I have a theory that you can either pay your employees poorly or treat them poorly, but you can't do both and expect them to stick around. And that's where we're at. And our pushback against leadership inside this department, I believe, is a large reason why we've grown so quickly. Like I said, we started in 2023 from nothing, and we're already now representing nearly the entire commission side of the department.
The other thing I found covering sheriff's offices around the country is, sheriffs have a lot of power. I mean, they're elected.
Certainly.
So sometimes, or many times, the deputies love the sheriff. It's like the opposite of what you're saying.
Yes.
And even though maybe they don't get paid as much as they should or as much as they want, like the sheriffs have their back.
Yes.
And it's different than working for a police department where there's a city council and they almost, the sheriff really.
That's basically what I'm going through right now. Nanos can't put retaliation. Nanos can't fire him, but can try and push him out. Yeah.
Protects the deputies.
Yes, sir.
But I guess that's not the case here.
No, and it's pretty unusual.
But it is around here, right? I mean, I've interviewed some other sheriffs. It seems like other sheriffs are really liked.
Yes, sir. And the counties that are next to us, their sheriffs are very popular. Pinal County is a great example. They're directly to our north, and their deputies adore their sheriff, from my understanding.
I hope he doesn't push him out.
Ours
sounds like he's working on it.
Is different because of how he runs the department and the retaliation that they do to the deputies that speak up or even perceived to be against Nanos, or even he heard them say something against him. Because of that, we had a couple dozen of them protest with me against the sheriff during the last race. And I am unaware of any other instance where deputies protested against their sheriff for an election race. But it happened last time. But it wasn't without risk and fear. A lot of those guys did it while wearing masks just to protect themselves from retaliation.
Yeah, that's unusual, huh?
It is. The situation inside this department I would describe as is very unusual.
So the whole world is watching now because of Nancy Guthrie. I mean, do you think all of these issues that you've described have had an impact on the investigation?
100%. 100%. The experience level inside our CID. Like I said, they're hardworking people, but everybody needs mentors. You know, I cannot imagine starting as a new deputy or when I was in as a detective and not having mentors to help me out. You need that. They make you better. And when you have questions or when you have a high profile case, they're the ones that you want to go to. But from what I understand and what I'm being told, there's not a lot of that right now. Like I said, we're a very young department. 45% of our commissioned deputies and detectives have less than 5 years on. We're very young because of this turnover, and it's having a real impact. And when we need that expertise, that seniority the most during high profile incidents like this, they're simply not there. So I believe it is having an impact.
Couldn't the sheriff have said in the beginning, look, this is a complicated case, even the FBI experts?
Yeah, Brian does great interviews. I have a question. If it was a robbery, even if they unalived her, they would not take her. It seems like something else because they took her. The sheriff's department has failed the Guthrie family. Hey, Jakey. And you know what? You're right, Agent Orange. This is just one side of the story. And yeah, William, it's a shit show.
It's around the country have said, we've never even seen anything like this. I mean, they've never seen a kidnapping like this. Couldn't he have said, we're going to hand this over to the FBI because like this needs another level of expertise? I don't think that would have made him look bad.
No,
I think they could have still helped and assisted and been a part of it.
I agree. I think the right decision, and there's also different aspects of this as well. By deciding early to turn this over to the FBI and us take a supportive role to them, I think it would have been the best decision, in my opinion, for the Guthrie family, but also for our detectives and Pima County citizens. Like, from what I understand, the entirety of CID is being tasked with helping on this case, all of them. They still have other cases that aren't being worked as well as they could be. And the bad guys aren't giving us a break because we're working this case, hoping to find Nancy. The calls and the crimes are still coming in. They're still happening.
Yeah.
So these cases are getting put on the back burner from what they otherwise would be if this was turned over to the FBI, who could use their massive assets, resources, and personnel to work it with us in an assisting role. And then we could also then go back to a normal order of business to some extent and work some of these other cases that are happening in Pima County.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything else I'm leaving out that you think is important that people should know? I mean, because again, you're in a unique role where you can speak.
Right.
And we have a hard time, getting information out.
Yes.
Because people will get in trouble.
Yes, and that fear is real. The fear is very real because they know what would happen. Again, I just want to reiterate that our detectives, they are busting their butt to try and solve this case and find Nancy and try and bring her home, hopefully safe to her family. They're putting in tons of hours and burning the candle at both ends. And so I just really like to take the opportunity to thank them for all their hard work. They're great guys, and we'd like to just convey to everybody that please don't hold us accountable for some of the decisions made by our leaders. We're trying.
Oh, wow.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Don't hold us accountable for Nano's decisions. I want to play a Megyn Kelly video, but I want to share this post from Megyn Kelly. It's kind of, she says, Sunta Daily Mail, nobody has been cleared as suspects. Monday press release, family has been cleared as possible suspects. True press release, the Guthrie family has not been identified as suspects, which is not the same as cleared. This is so unprofessional. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with Megyn Kelly. I want to watch this short clip with Brian Entin and oh my gosh, I love Brian Entin and Jesse Weber, my two favorites.
Live from Arizona's News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Entin, who did that great interview with Sheriff Nanos. Brian, good to see you.
Yeah, Brian Entin did do a great interview, but kidnapping a grandma would be the last thing they would want to do because you got to have medicine and grandma has a lot of needs. They wanted Nancy for something, right? He could have been given all the resources he possibly needed, and he doesn't use the help because he's holding a grudge. Exactly, Elijah.
I have a lot of questions here, but I always start off with What is the latest on the ground that you're seeing? And also, let me couple this too. There was a lot of activity today. There was movement at Nancy's house with a white van. There was also news that investigators took a look at the home of one of Nancy's neighbors. So can you tell us about that activity as well?
Yeah, so the activity outside the house, Jesse, there was a white pickup truck and a Subaru that showed up to the house. And the detectives seemed to know they were coming, let them by, let them up the driveway by the garage, which I haven't seen happen before. They weren't law enforcement. There was a man that got out with a briefcase. We had our drone up. They went around to the back of the house, two men. They went into the house. They were in the house for several minutes. Then they came out and left. We don't know. This is it right here. Yeah, this is that white pickup truck. We don't know what they were doing. At first, I thought like maybe friends of the Guthrie family that went to, retrieve something in the house from them. There was other speculation that it may have been a locksmith, which I'm not really sure why they would need a locksmith. But that was one thing that we saw outside the house. Also next door at the neighbor's house, there were detectives that showed up a few hours later and were inspecting a Ring camera. And also there was like a floodlights with a Ring camera on it.
Good question, William. How long does she got to be missing before she's declared unalived? I mean, they're not going to look forever. Yeah, Jesse's hair looks great. I wonder if they searched anywhere, maybe thought some medications she had or has, just saying. Candy, the sheriff has botched this whole investigation over an ego. I agree. Taco Stain says justice for Nancy.
They were inspecting for quite a while. Yeah, this is a picture of where they were, which we haven't seen them talking to that neighbor before. So that was also new and interesting. And in terms of what else was happening on the ground, the main thing today was the DNA, confirming that they put the DNA from the glove into CODIS. And did not get a match, which was obviously not the news that everybody was hoping for, Jesse.
No, especially when it's a database of 19 million offenders and over 1 million forensic profiles. But it's not the end of the story. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you know anything about how or if it's being tested through investigative genetic genealogy, family trees? It's been used to solve cold cases in the past.
Yeah, we confirmed that it is. We had suspected the last couple of days that they would go down that route, but we've now confirmed they're going to do IGG, which is investigative genetic genealogy. You mentioned it, just what they did with Koberger. It's one of the ways that they found.
Wait, but the members need to be in the system, right? For them to get a match with genealogy? Like the family members would have had to contribute to 23andMe, Ancestry, whatever it is. And then they use whatever DNA they have, and then they go and try to match it up, right?
Koberger. It takes longer, though. It usually takes longer. It could take weeks. It could even take months. There's so many factors here. I was talking to one of the investigators. Yeah, it can take really long. Even depending on what the suspect's origins, it's more difficult with people who have Hispanic origins. There's not as many in the database. So it could be a long process, Jesse. But it's good news that they're doing it because it's been successful in the past.
Oh, no.
And look,
yes.
I don't even know if that glove that was found 2 miles away is even related to this case one way or
Thank you, Jesse. That's what we've been saying.
another. It's just another consideration. I do want to ask you something. I thought this was a key moment in your interview with Sheriff Nanos. There's been a lot of back and forth. Why did you send this DNA analysis to a private lab, not Quantico? I want to play this real quick. Get your perspective on the other side.
If I use, for example, a state lab, DPS, or the federal lab, Quantico, you have to understand they have others using those labs too. And so it really puts a lot of strain on them to prioritize those cases and do what they can with them, where if I have my own lab or a contract lab, it allows me easier access to those cases that I think are important to us.
What did you make of that, Brian?
Well, look, it's a different story than what we're hearing from FBI sources. I mean, they have said that they wanted it to go to Quantico specifically because they thought it would be.
Alicia. Wait, CODIS, they'd have to have done a crime. That's what I'm saying. So if their family members didn't commit a crime, then they're SOL with CODIS, right? Alicia says, yes, it would have to be a blood relative. It can be your fifth cousin of your father. They will find you. I have a strong feeling the kids have something to do with it. Don't know which one at all, but it just doesn't add up. Yeah, Chaco's saying a lot of people have that. Oh, I would be freaking out if this was my mother. I can't even think about it.
Faster, especially with the glove, because what we were told last night by FBI sources is that the DNA had to come back to Arizona before it could be put into CODIS, whereas if it had just gone to Quantico, they would have saved time and been able to put it directly into CODIS. So look, I mean, the sheriff says that this is a lab that they've always used. That's what he told me today. He believes that it was easier to just send everything there. And he says that he talked to the FBI about this and that it was a short conversation and that they didn't have an issue. So, you know, it's hard to say who's right here.
Right.
I think the sheriff does have good intentions. I really do.
Yeah.
But I think the FBI has been a little, you know, upset with some of the decisions made.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, you think? We agree. I wanted to share this post by Brad Bradley. I haven't covered this, but I actually have had a live ready to go on it. I just haven't got to it. There's like 10 lives I haven't got to that are just sitting there. But Amy Bradley, if you haven't heard of her case, you guys, it's really good. They have that Netflix documentary on the Amy Bradley case. She went missing on the Caribbean cruise, and her brother posted this, and I thought it was interesting. He says, "I truly hope 𝗠𝗲cy Guthrie is found alive and that those responsible are brought to justice. Every missing person deserves that outcome, but here's a hard truth. Roughly 600,000 people are reported missing in the US each year. More than 1,600 every single day on average. Since Nancy disappeared 17 days ago, over 25,000 additional families have endured the same nightmare without a single second of national media coverage or any significant federal mobilization." What if I have been screaming from the rooftops here? The level of interagency coordination, media attention, and federal resources currently deployed shows what is possible when urgency is prioritized. That effort should not depend on status, wealth, influence, or connections. In Amy Bradley's case, the FBI is offering $25,000 reward. In Nancy Guthrie's case, the reward stands at $100,000. What are the criteria that determine these differences? Are some families more deserving of answers than others? This is not about diminishing one victim or one family's anxiety and heartache. It's about elevating our collective responsibility to all victims. It is time for congressional oversight hearings on how missing person cases are prioritized, resourced, and supported at the federal level. Families deserve transparency regarding reward denominations, interagency activation standards, and long-term case source allocation. If we can mobilize this level of effort for one, we should be able to build a system that does it for all. Every person matters. Every family deserves that equal urgency. And that's what I've been saying as we cover the Epstein files. I've been up here talking my shit, being like, okay, well, what about all the children in the Epstein files, et cetera, and just that go missing and trafficked. And it's so true. That post really got to me when I read that earlier, and I am glad I saved it. So shout out to Brad. Human trafficking is the worst with missing persons. Yes, someone needs to take over. It's so true. I think I was saying, Melly, can't fathom the thought of it being my mom. Yeah, exactly. Let's watch Megyn Kelly. I'll keep my eye out on X to see if anything comes up.
She lives
I
with
doubt
a
we'll
pacemaker.
hear like anything tonight, but we'll see. I'll keep my eye on it. Tomorrow, I think I want to go through the timeline, and I want to go through it in depth because we have all the docs and docs related to Nancy's home. I got my hands on them. And then we have, I think like a divorce. Oh, I saw some marriage something. And then we have like in detail everything that's happened. And then somebody asked, I think it was Evie and William said, was there a silver alert? Yes, there was or is. Arizona, is this what you guys were talking about? That breaks my heart because Amy's family have fought long for hard. I've been really into that one. I just haven't covered it, but I think we might, since we're covering Elliot Rodger, if you guys are not familiar with that. And we are also covering Jodi Arias, which are older cases, but worthy of covering. Here it is, missing citizen, Tucson, Arizona. January 27th is her birthday. Point of contact, Sergeant Stivers, Pima County Sheriff's Agency. So, yeah, here we get so many silver alerts. Really? Well, I'm glad you mentioned it because I hadn't shown that, but it was on my list. So shout out to you guys for thinking of it. Okay, let's watch a couple minutes of Megyn Kelly. This will be our last unless I find something right now.
Plus, we are told she needs medication to stay alive and has limited mobility. In other words, time is and has been of the essence. And yet we don't know where she is. And day after day after day, we are seeing a delay on the processing of the DNA found on those black gloves that were found 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home, because this local sheriff refused to send the gloves to the FBI lab at Quantico, insisted on using his lab in Florida, and apparently they're having real difficulty due to the FBI protocols in uploading.
Oh, thank you, Celie. Love you too. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Glad you've been listening. Alicia, I don't know if they're like different, and it's probably a dumb response, but it's let's look it up. I'll give you I won't try to give you mine. I'm like, a silver alert is a public notification system used to locate missing seniors or individuals with Alzheimer's, dementia, or cognitive impairment. I was going to say, I just don't know if it's different like state to state. Similar to Amber Alerts, they quickly disseminate information via media, highway signs, and phones to aid in rescuing at-risk adults. I'm assuming they might be the same like everywhere. I'm not sure.
Any of that information, or making sure.
Or maybe let me explain that. The criteria for it, I guess, might not be the same everywhere it is, question mark.
Of the quality needed in order to run it into the federal database that compares the DNA to that of known criminals, or CODIS. It would have been nice if he could have just cooperated with the FBI and conceded that it's possible the gold standard lab at Quantico might do a better job. But it appears to many.
Well, I guess it is the same, the criteria, because it just has to be someone often 60 or 65 plus and have documented cognitive impairment or be in danger. So Nancy doesn't have cognitive impairment. So they must, so clearly she's in danger. They usually trigger the alert within 72 hours.
Of us that this is a turf war in the sheriff's mind only. And rather than using all the resources of the FBI in order to expedite things because there's an 84-year-old woman who's missing and may be dying, he wants to protect his turf. He likes to be in control.
Oh, shit. Megyn Kelly's talking about Nanos. Let me rewind because this is good, babes. I'm here for the drama.
No weird ingredients. No.
Dang, Megyn Kelly.
Both. Founded by Dr. Tori Waxman, a veterinarian and mom, on Sunday, which was the same as our federal source. No one's been ruled out. That was Sunday. Then Monday, the sheriff said, all the family's been ruled out. Okay, what happened? Did we get DNA back? Did we get a polygraph? Did we get phone data? What did we get? Here is what we got. The sheriff, according to Matt Finn of Fox News, Matt reports, quote, I just asked Sheriff Nanos if DNA helped clear the Guthrie family from being suspects. He says, quote, not going there. They are victims, and I will not stand quiet when they are re-victimized. It is not just my duty. It is every cop's duty to stand up and be the voice for victims. What? Enter Tom Winter of NBC News, who reports it explicitly, quote, there is no indication this is the result of any new evidence. No indication this is a result of any new evidence whatsoever. So what happened here quite clearly is the sheriff decided, probably after a phone call from the family, he says he mostly speaks to Savannah, to just say nobody there is a suspect anymore. When 24 hours earlier, he said no one's been cleared. And that's what we were told by our federal law enforcement source too. No one has been cleared. But magically, over the course of 24 hours, because it's his duty to stand up and be the voice for the victims and will not stand quiet when they are re-victimized, the sheriff finds the wherewithal to say, just no one's a suspect in the family. Okay, maybe that's true. Maybe they're not the prime suspects now. Maybe they're moving away from the family, as NBC reported yesterday. But it's diametrically opposed to what both the sheriff said 24 hours earlier and what my sources said within hours of our reporting yesterday. Okay, so something's off. And we don't do feelings in a criminal investigation. We don't do feelings, we do facts. Okay, that's how it's supposed to work. And the sheriff should know better. It's actually quite interesting now because I'll show you what the douchebag Chris Cuomo is saying. In fact, let's just play it now. It's 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆. He's very upset that Ashley Banfield and yours truly have raised questions about the brother-in-law. Ashley's reporting, and based on Ashley's...
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Evie says you guys get him here a lot. Sometimes I will wander to people's home. My grandma, he was walking down the highway. Oh, wow.
Reporting, we've asked questions on this program. And here's Fredo Cuomo on his little-known show on News Nation, which has less viewers than I have fingers.
Now, look, I've never heard law enforcement make this kind of a statement during an investigation, and I'm not calling for the family to be removed from suspicion. The job is the job, right? But the job is also, you don't speculate just because you don't care that you're destroying this family, just because it may get you some clicks. But I want to correct something the sheriff said. It's not the media. No one who pays attention to the law or any standard of decency is doing this. What these digital people are doing. It's the digital media. It's those denizens. It's people who get paid for clicks and rage bait. All right? These fugazi, sloppy influencers and would-be sleuths. Right? The truth about whether Nancy Guthrie's family is under scrutiny. She doesn't know a damn thing. The reason the cops are going back to the home is because the police think she did it. Where'd she get?
What is going on right now? Is he talking about Megyn Kelly? Okay, I need to rewind.
Speaks to Savannah to just say nobody there is a suspect anymore. When 24 hours earlier, he said no one's been cleared. And that's what we were told by our federal law enforcement source too. No one has been cleared. But magically, over the course of 24 hours, because it's his duty to stand up and be the voice for the victims and will not stand quiet when they are re-victimized, the sheriff finds the wherewithal to say, just no one's a suspect in the family. Okay, maybe that's true. Maybe they're not the prime suspects now. Maybe they're moving away from the family, as NBC reported yesterday. But it's diametrically opposed to what both the sheriff said 24 hours earlier and what my sources said within hours of our reporting yesterday. Okay, so something's off. And we don't do feelings in a criminal investigation. We don't do feelings. We do facts. Okay, that's how it's supposed to work. And the sheriff should know better. It's actually quite interesting now because I'll show you what the douchebag Chris Cuomo is saying. In fact, let's just play it now. It's 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆. He's very upset that Ashley Banfield and yours truly have raised questions about the brother-in-law. Ashley's reporting, and based on Ashley's reporting, we've asked questions on this program. And here's Fredo Cuomo on his little-known show on News Nation, which has less viewers than I have fingers.
Now, look, I've never heard law enforcement make this kind of a statement during an investigation, and I'm not calling for the family to be removed from suspicion. The job is the job, right? But the job is also, you don't speculate just because you don't care that you're destroying this family, just because it may get you some clicks. But I want to correct something the sheriff said. It's not the media. No one who pays attention to the law or any standard of decency is doing this. What these digital people are doing. It's the digital media. It's those denizens. It's people who get paid for clicks and rage bait. All right? These fugazi, sloppy influencers and would-be sleuths. Right? The truth about whether Nancy Guthrie's family is under scrutiny. She doesn't know a damn thing. The reason the cops are going back to the home is because the police think she did it. Where'd she get that? Bullshit. The video messages from the family are like a movie. It's from Silence of the Lambs. Why are they doing that?
It is. It's weird, though, that she did do the Silence of the Lambs.
Okay. So let me tell you what Fredo is really upset about. He has Fredo no Rado. That's his real problem. Nobody watches his show on News Nation, and I mean nobody. And nobody watches his failed podcast either. Nobody watched his Sirius radio show. Nobody watched him on CNN.
Whoa.
And therefore, he gets upset at anybody who does well, like our show, which is always one of the top 3 conservative podcasts.
This is getting a little out of control. Wow, her and Cuomo are going at it. She doesn't need to name call. Just more distractions, digital media. That mean, why is he talking about YouTube? Wow, look at that. The sheriff is doing to everybody. This is crazy. Everything is digital now. How much tinfoil? How much do y'all want to bet that if or when Savannah goes back to the Today Show, she might step down? I bet. I already said this. I said this like 3 lives ago. I already said this 3 lives ago. I said she's going to step down, and then essentially they're going to end up leaving the country. Her and her family. They're going to leave the country. She might step down and announce her new show, Finding Missing Kids. Nah, they're out of here. I bet you. I feel like it. But they always say that about YouTube. Yeah, they do. They always say that about YouTube.
Podcasts in the nation. It's currently #1 on Apple. Fredo doesn't like that. Okay,
chill out, Megan.
Okay, because as I say, Fredo no Rado. So he gets upset and he gets jealous. Sometimes in the
So
past,
clearly we can see who's in it for views. Megan Kelly.
on this show, we've called out Fredo for his terrible behavior, for his bad ratings, for his lies about bumping into people who just happen to be listening to his podcast, because literally nobody does. And Fredo can't take criticism. And I'll tell you something I've never told before. Fredo actually called my lawyer, who he happened to use briefly on a legal matter. And
whoa, lawyers are getting them up, but we will watch you. That part, Melanie. Yeah, please like the stream. She already said she may not go back. See? She ain't gonna go back. She ain't gonna go back. Is it a coincidence that her husband is in the Epstein files and this is happening? It might not be related, but still, a little inkling in me thinks it could be.
begged the lawyer to get me to stop mentioning him. He didn't want me to attack him because it hurt his little feelings. So now Fredo sees an opportunity to attack yours truly because, of course, we're doing well with this story too, as we do when we do other news, which Fredo can't relate to. So Fredo's upset, and Fredo's trying to play the protector of the Guthrie family. Meanwhile, there are a few in news who have done more.
I think that was a little much. I think Megan should have just took the higher road on that one.
The Guthrie family than this show. We have covered this story extensively since it broke because Fredo doesn't understand, but I too am a news woman like Savannah. I too worked at the Today Show like Savannah Guthrie. I too have been the victim of a deranged stalker, which may be one of the possibilities here. Something Fredo doesn't realize we've covered extensively as well on this program. I too know Ashley Banfield extremely well, and she's had extremely solid reporting for 20 years in the crime and other fields as well. And so when she tells me she's got a solid source, I take her very seriously. And I also saw this matter being discussed. Guess where else? On News Nation, all around Fredo, by Elizabeth Vargas, by Jesse Weber, Dan Abrams, who had the show right before Chris Cuomo for years, did a long segment on it with Ashley Banfield. It's all over Fox News. Jesse Waters, Sean Hannity, up and down the lineup, Laura Ingraham, all of them have discussed whether the brother-in-law had anything to do with it, because in an investigation like this, you don't rule out family because of feelings, because of your little feelings, Fredo. Because I know you're in the business of protecting your family. Okay, we learned that firsthand during COVID when you put your loser brother on there and ran cover for him. And then ultimately, it was one of the things that led to your downfall. Because
Fredo is Chris Cuomo. Good thing this is her own show, because holy shit, dude. By the way, there is a massive homeless camp near Nancy Guthrie's home under a bridge, First Avenue in Orange Grove. Just something I hadn't seen before. Whoa.
you didn't report honestly on his many, many problems during COVID or his many, many problems in grabbing women. And perhaps the reason you chose not to do that is because you yourself were accused of having a Me Too problem, as you well know. Okay? We had the senior executive producer on this program who talked all about you and your behavior in a bar with her. There was another woman at CNN who came forward against you, who did a whole podcast about the discomfort you made her feel. And then there was an anonymous woman who came forward who was the last straw before your firing. So you have a long history, I understand, of running cover for family. That's not what we do here on the actual news. We talk about what the police are doing, and we try to glean where the investigation is.
The shade. Oh my goodness, we're gonna have to start watching all this drama play out because you know Chris Cuomo's not gonna stay quiet. Wow. Holy
is going.
balls.
And we especially do that when we have a sheriff who repeatedly, when asked whether anyone has been ruled out, says no, no one's been ruled out. Absolutely not. Not the family, no one. No one's been ruled out. Everyone remains a suspect until we have somebody in handcuffs. That's the way you do it. And you especially do it that way when the sheriff tows the car belonging to the sister and her husband and impounds it. You do that when the sheriff and the FBI continuously return to the sister and her husband's home, taking pictures in the middle of the night with the lights off, suggesting there may be something that they need to capture in the same hour of night as Nancy Guthrie went missing from her home. Go back time and time again to search the home and take belongings from the home and take photographs of the home, which is not the crime scene. So this is what a responsible reporter does. What they don't do is stage news. Okay, I need to help you, Fredo, because your little begging to my lawyer to get me to lay off of you didn't work. So this is what you're going to have to deal with. Actual facts when you try to come.
Yeah, I do know that. DJ Robs, I don't really mess with Megan like that. I can't be mad at her for calling out who's talking. Yeah, they do take shots at her. They do. I think they all sometimes do, right? I mean, just last week it was Ashley Banfield. People were taking shots at her. Or was it the week before? We're week 3 of Nancy. We're going for like a month now.
For yours
wow.
truly. This is what we don't do. We do cover facts. We do follow leads, but we don't stage news, Fredo. We do not pretend that we are walking out of the basement, our basement during COVID, haven't smelled the fresh air in months when everybody knows you were on the street in an altercation involving your bicycle weeks earlier. Remember this moment on CNN?
All right, here it is. The official re-entry from the basement, cleared by CDC. A little sweaty, just worked out, happens. This is what I've been dreaming of, literally for weeks. My wife, yeah, right. She was cleared by the CDC. She doesn't have fever. She doesn't have the symptoms anymore, more than 7 days from her quarantine. We're still a little scared, so I'll just give you one of these. 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 Bella has, of course, taken the video. This is the dream. This is for when we go outside. That's what we have to do now, all of us in New York. So anyway, I'm back.
His mask. It was all fake. He'd been on the street. It had made the New York Post, and he humiliated himself. And he continues to humiliate himself with his 4 viewers. Envy is a very unattractive thing, Fredo. Work on that. In any event, we've had a few updates since our show yesterday, including News Nation.
I could say the same to my haters.
Brian Entin saying the FBI is now visiting gun stores with a list of 40 names and 40 photos. That's very interesting. Agents are asking whether the people on the list have purchased a gun at that store that they're visiting. It's unclear if all 40 are persons of interest or what exactly is happening there. I have a theory, but more importantly, my panel's going to have thoughts. Joining me now for reaction, Chad Ayers, former SWAT team leader, former Navy SEAL and FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam, and Maureen O'Connell, a 25-year-old veteran of the FBI and co-host of the Best Case, Worst Case podcast. Great to see you all. Welcome back, guys. So it's very interesting to me. We'll get to the gun stores in a second. But the fact that the sheriff comes out, Jonathan, just based on like feelings, it's my obligation, he says, that they are victims and I will not stand quiet when they are re-victimized. It's just my duty. It's every cop's duty to stand up and be the voice for victims. With NBC reporting, there is no indication this is the result of any new evidence whatsoever. So what is the sheriff doing?
Well, I think he's making an emotional statement, and it's not based in fact, because you can't clear people unless you know the motive and you know you have suspects and you have, and perhaps they do have that stuff and he's not saying, but he's not the voice of the family, and he doesn't speak for the family. He is there leading an investigation, And so, as you go through and do case study after case study, you'll see where law enforcement has cleared family members before, only to come back years later and find out that it was a family member that profited from the death of someone. And
That's the second professional that says, yeah, they shouldn't have said they were cleared.
actually either hired somebody to do it or carried it out in some way that they just weren't able to find until later on. So listen, if it was one misspeak by this sheriff, that would be one thing. But he keeps saying and doing things that I think have put this investigation in real jeopardy. And I think anytime that you tell public that you need to calm down, or tell the media you need to calm down, the problem with that is that you're losing that force multiplier. So instead of saying these people are no longer a suspect, they're cleared, he should just come out and say, listen, the vitriol is getting so bad against people that you have no evidence against, and we're not looking at currently, that you're causing threats, you're causing potential danger to these families, and I need that to stop because it's hampering the investigation. You see how much better that would have been if he would have said that? I mean, this guy, he's pointed out once that one of the reporters asked him a question. She had a name that resembled a male's name, and he got in a conversation laughing about that. This is like 2 days after this disappearance. And so I think that he's been in, it says law enforcement in his bio for 50 years, but for somebody who's been in law enforcement for 50 years, he does not know how to work the media, and he certainly does not know how to run a task force investigation that utilizes all the tools in the toolbox.
Well, here's what's crazy, Maureen. Now he's saying to Local 13 News that the family's been 100% cooperative. He said that before, and that family members were ruled out as suspects in the first few days. Now, if he means Savannah, I can accept that. I believe she was in New York at the time her mother went missing. But if he's referring to Annie and Tomas,
Oh yeah, because she lives there, right?
it's a lie. That's a lie. And we know it's a lie because we need only to look back at the
Wait, what did she say is a lie?
Conversation laughing about that. This is like 2 days after this disappearance. And so I think
Wait, I want to go back to that part.
The death of someone, and actually either hired somebody to do it or carried it out in some way that they just weren't able to find until later on. So listen, if it was one misspeak by this sheriff, that would be one thing. But he keeps saying and doing things that I think have put this investigation in real jeopardy. And I think anytime that you tell public that you need to calm down, or tell the media you need to calm down, the problem with that is that you're losing that force multiplier. So instead of saying these people are no longer a suspect, they're cleared, he should just come out and say, listen, the vitriol is getting so bad against people that you have no evidence against, and we're not looking at currently, that you're causing threats, you're causing potential danger to these families, and I need that to stop because it's hampering the investigation.
Mhm.
You see how much better that would have been if he would have said that? I mean, this guy, he's pointed out once that one of the reporters asked him a question. She had a name that resembled a male's name, and he got in a conversation laughing about that. This is like 2 days after this disappearance. And so I think that he's been in, it says law enforcement in his bio for 50 years, but for somebody who's been in law enforcement for 50 years, he does not know how to work the media, and he certainly does not know how to run a task force investigation that utilizes all the tools in the toolbox.
well, here's what's crazy, Maureen. Now he's saying to Local 13 News that the family's been 100% cooperative. He said that before, and that family members were ruled out as suspects in the first few days. Now, if he means Savannah, I can accept that. I believe she was in New York at the time her mother went missing. But if he's referring to Annie and Tomas, it's a lie. That's a lie. And we know it's a lie because we need only to look back at the sheriff's own statements. Here he is in a montage dating back since the beginning of this case in SOP 50.
Nobody's eliminated, but we just really don't have enough to say, this is our suspect, this is our guy, we know, or our gal. We just don't know that.
Are you actively investigating the son-in-law in this case? You said you haven't eliminated everybody.
Have you eliminated him or come close to it?
We're actively looking at everybody we come across in this case. Everybody. It's so cliche,
Sheriff?
but everybody's still a suspect in our eyes. That's just how we look at things and
Beg
think
your
as cops. Does that mean we have a prime suspect? No, and the family's been very cooperative. They've done everything we've asked of them, and we want that relationship to continue. And sometimes people can be mean out there, and that can really harm us and harm our efforts.
Weird, Maureen. That doesn't sound the same to me as all of the family members have been ruled out as suspects from day one.
No, it doesn't. And he acts as if we're all being unreasonable for even questioning whether or not Nancy or Annie and her husband are involved, when, as I've said numerous times, and all of us on this panel here, we've done a number of rollback warrants to different locations, but I've never done 6 on one location. I mean, we're the ones following the facts. When law enforcement shows up at a house over and over and over and seizes a vehicle, and then the one, her husband, Tommaso.
I like her. I like Maureen from, what was it? I can't remember what her podcast is. She's great. She's always on with Brian Entin. They're actually really good friends. Got him off stage, stumbling and fumbling his words. I think they classify her as one of the YouTubers who is interfering with Nancy's case. It's so obvious that many of the legacy media are envious and jealous YouTubers are killing their views.
Has been completely out of pocket. No one has seen him since that day he did like that.
2026 is crazy.
The gangster lean in his car trying to get away from the press. We're not the ones being unreasonable here. And the only thing that this sheriff has said that has been definitive and decisive since the very beginning of this case was this report that the whole family is just not even in the crosshairs for this investigation any longer. Don't even think about it. Done. Finito. Well, that's going to be a big problem if we can't bring someone to justice. And then, as our other panel member said, and then 2 years or 3 years down the road, we get additional information, and now we're saying, oh yeah, someone is in the frame for this again. Now what are we going to do? It's going to cause problems for the trial. You got to think about the trial more. Focus on what this trial is going to look like.
Chad, I think about, the Tomas is who people have speculated about, originally based on Ashley Banfield's reporting, but also because obviously you look at the family first. And you know who else you look at? You look at the last person we know for a fact to have seen her. And that is Tomas Sioni, Annie's husband. How do we know that? From the sheriff. The sheriff told us that. He said it to the New York Times on the record, and then admitted that when he went back to that presser and said, oh, we're going to go with just the family, he changed that only because he didn't want to draw too much attention onto Tomas. Well, that's the most foolhardy thing ever. You can't say I'm changing it from Tomas to just the family because I want to remove any suspicion or focus on Tomas, especially when you've been going to his house overnight repeatedly. You've sent people in there to search who have left with evidence bags. And we know that you impounded the family car, and you refuse over and over again to say that he's not a suspect on camera to reporters from the beginning of the case.
It's true. I mean, it's true what she's saying about Tommaso, I thought it was Tomas. And then also, like, what happened with the Range Rover? Like, are we going to get any information on that? Oh, the glove didn't match. Okay, what about all of that? And the person who allegedly was her that same night. There's a lot here. There's a lot of missing pieces. Yeah, Evie, the last person she was seen with, it was that family. Well, but what I mean by that, the house, Annie's house, Annie's husband.
I mean, the sheriff needs some serious media training. It's obviously.
But I'm with you, Taco Stain. I've been saying that since day number 1. I don't think she was ever dropped off. I don't think so either. That's why they don't see her being driven away. That's why there's no surveillance. But you would think they would have Annie's car on some type of surveillance, right? Or on the house. My theory was that she was never dropped off at home and they went there and opened the garage and got into her house. And maybe the cameras were already not working so that they could say we dropped her off, but there's actually no proof of that.
He's not good at crisis management either. He's not good at crime scene management at all. We've got, investigators discarding their gloves. We've had, I still do not understand why Nancy's house was not roped off, taped off, sealed until she's brought home. We talked about that the other day. We are seeing sloppy investigations going on here. And just like Maureen said, this very well, Megan, can affect the trial if and when someone is brought into custody for this. So again, what is going on? This is police 101.
And that is actually so true if this were to get a trial, and Taco Stain says it won't get to trial.
Sheriff's acting like he's on Paw Patrol. This is policing 101. You start with the family. All right. You start with the people who last saw Nancy, family. So again, in this back and forth stuff, this is why nobody, has any credibility with this guy.
It's so true. And he's not doing anybody any favors. If this were me and my mother, God forbid, I wouldn't care if they focused on me, my husband, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, anybody. I would not, as long as they were still talking about my case, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
That's it. What does the family of every missing person want? Media coverage. They would give
Yep. Like Bradley said.
anything to have the three of you moderating a panel about their missing loved one, day in, day out. If they had to be the subject of the speculation, so be it. The whole point is to keep your loved one in the news so that people are still thinking about her and looking for her. That's the name of the game. It's the only name of the game when it comes to finding a missing person, assuming you have a competent law enforcement leader who's going after the search. Now, in the meantime, it does appear that they're pursuing other avenues, which are good, shoe leather police work. And that leads me to the FBI going into these gun shops and asking if they know anybody, if anybody on this list of the 40 names or the 40 pictures has been in there to buy a gun. What is that all about? Maureen, I'll start with you on it.
I think what they're doing is, it seems to me as soon as I heard that number, that they probably have about 6 suspects that they're looking at. And the gold standard for like a photo array or for what we call a 6-pack is to have one defendant or one person we're looking at in with 5 other innocent people. So if you divide 40 by 6, you get a little over 6. So I think they have 6 people they're looking at, maybe 7, and they put them in photo arrays with known individuals that don't have any criminal backgrounds or others. And they're showing them to the gun owners with a whole list of names just to see if anything pops out. But it's a way to look into everyone without telling them who you're looking at exactly, if that makes sense.
Yes. They have to do it this way, Jonathan, because they can't, it'll be a bad lineup if they don't.
Sure.
It won't be admissible.
Yeah, and also, we're so stuck on talking about DNA that sources and other methods that the FBI and law enforcement in general have. When these people do bad things, they usually and typically run in a bad crowd, and people will give hints, or they'll talk about, or they'll tell in confidence another bad guy what they've done. And so sources that we have that are paid sources, or they're working off a debt, those individuals can spring an investigation forward, very quickly. And that could be where some of this information is coming from, and so when you do get a list of names and you go out there and you float these things, it's just showing me that just like Brown University, where they were having these terrible press conferences and people were like, what is going on there? Well, the investigators were there just killing it, man. They were doing incredible work. And that investigation was closed very quickly. And I think that's probably what's happening here, that despite the sheriff, the FBI and the investigators, even though we've heard that the investigators on the case for the sheriff, that he kind of cleaned house and has very inexperienced investigators running that case. But I still think that there's people there that are really working hard. What I also don't see,
Mhm.
which when you guys look at the totality of the circumstances of these things, is the fact that, you know, they found one glove in like 15 or at least a dozen
Yeah.
gloves that have been thrown down
Yeah,
by
no,
searchers.
the FBI said they found 16.
Right. So gloves that searchers have thrown down. So what that tells me is there's a lack of standard operating procedures, a
Mhm.
lack of briefing, which signals a lack of control by the investigative lead agency, which is the sheriff's department.
That's a good point. I mean, I'm hearing the same thing, Chad, which is that there are a bunch of novices in the sheriff's office with respect to those who are serving, that they're all maybe 2 years onto the job, 3 years at most. And so these are baby homicide cops and don't have the experience when it comes to investigating cases like this of the ones who left because they can't stand working under this sheriff. Some of that seems to be manifesting in the case. The FBI, however, with this, you know, visiting the gun stores thing, they sound like they're on their game. 40 names and 40 photos asking the gun stores to tell them whether or not these people have been inside the store and whether they have purchased a gun.
Can I weigh in on something? Oh, sorry, Chad. No, go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
No, I was just saying.
Yeah, we'll do Chad and then Maureen.
Yeah, no, real quick. I think it's just important to know that obviously in these gun stores, you go in to purchase a firearm, you fill out the ATF form 4, ask you a bunch of questions. So that's great. It's a great starting point. Obviously, we know this person was armed. We saw it. Is it possible that they've used some digital enhancement and able to identify what kind of firearm that is? Possibly. But again, coming from my side, I also know that many times.
Yeah, like one glove out of the 16 or something was, and then they weren't able to match anything with CODIS or whatever agency they put it through. There's got to be more to the story that we just don't know about. Yes, Batman. Have they sent the ransom money like they said they were at this point that we know of? No.
Criminals aren't going to gun stores and purchasing their firearms. Most of them are purchased off the streets. And these things are hot anyways.
Not ideal. Go ahead, Maureen.
I was just going to say, I'm not going to throw the sheriff's department under the bus. And even if someone only has 3 to 5 years experience, if you had a really good training officer or a really good detective that was training you for those 3 years, you're going to make really good, solid decisions.
Yeah.
I know that they're pouring their heart and souls into this. I can see them out there working. They're all paired up with FBI agents, and we learn from each other in these instances. So I'm not going to go down that road with just throwing that whole department under the bus, because I don't believe that's fair. And with regard to the gloves, those 17 other gloves that they found.
See, that's why I like Maureen.
So they had a bunch of volunteers out there doing as part of the search and rescue team, and they're going to have a different standard with regard to evidence and evidence collection and how we do things. And then they had the support employees or the civilian employees that were also out there that are also a part of that contingent, that group. And then they had the sworn officers. Each of those groups has a different standard for what they do. They should be trained to the same level, but oftentimes they aren't. And when the FBI comes in, we always have a bag of that we designate from the beginning. Hey guys, this is where all our trash goes. So our Tyvek suits, gloves, everything like that goes into that one bag. But there's been more than one occasion where that black bag has blown off and stuff's flying all over the place and you're trying to pick it up. So there are things that happen. Obviously, they should have all been picked up. None of them should have been left there. But there are.
Yes, I am DJ Robs. You're right. Thank you for asking. What the hell? I'm gonna keep asking who really dropped her off. Why didn't Buckles walk her ass to the door? That's why I don't believe his alibi. Yeah, one glove, no DNA. Nope. The Petito Schmidt family, look at how each of them behaved. Also very true, Nemo sign.
Mitigating circumstances to a certain extent.
Well, that's the thing, is that we've got so many eggs in the basket of these gloves, and the DNA analysis being done by the Florida lab, which is completed, but now it has to be uploaded onto CODIS to see if it matches any of the perps in the federal database. But they won't upload it until they've been assured that the quality of it is adequate. I don't totally understand what the FBI is doing there, but
yeah, we covered that at the beginning. Where quality control, exactly. Who doesn't make sure their mom gets safely inside? I was just with my mom on Sunday, and I made sure she got safely inside when and it was the middle of the daytime. at her own house. What was the daughter's affiliation with Epstein files? So Savannah interviewed a lot of the victims for Epstein files. Allegedly, I think Virginia Giuffre had her last interview with Savannah before she allegedly unalived herself, which I don't believe. And then Savannah's husband worked for Clinton as the cleanup guy.
I guess they're not going to upload it until it's of a certain quality. And now they're saying it has to be shipped back to Arizona and then to Quantico. All of this is like, Nancy Guthrie could be dying somewhere. I mean, truly, like, many of us think she may have already passed, but what if she hasn't? What if she is sitting there clinging to life and really can't go many more days without her heart medication and is wondering what's going to happen to her? That we should not have a delay over lab processing, but that's where we are. On the other hand, Chad, we do have some promising possibilities on the backpack and Walmart. Okay, the New York Post is reporting that detectives have been handed their, quote, most promising lead.
I hadn't asked AI this. I mean, it's common sense, freaking obviously. We know that. An 84-year-old with serious heart conditions who stops taking medication does not have a set number of days to live, but they are at high risk of acute life-threatening events. I guess it just depends. Do we think Nancy's okay without her meds? I don't think so. 17 days?
Yet, according to a former top cop who they interviewed, who said that Walmart has now handed over the purchase records for backpacks that match the one used by the perp, the abductor. It's a black Ozark Trail hiker. They're 99% sure that's what it is. And that bag is sold exclusively at Walmart. So that's great. Now, they do point out, look, it doesn't mean couldn't have wound up at a Goodwill or a thrift store or a flea market or been gifted by somebody to somebody else. But let's face it, the overwhelming odds are that this guy bought it. And he bought it at a Walmart. And so they're going back now and trying to figure out, thanks to like the SKU numbers, you know, where you scan your little number when you buy something, who bought these backpacks, when, where, and trying to find videotape that'll match the transaction and any other identifying information. I mean, this seems to me like good old-fashioned police work.
Very good. And one thing I can say about Walmart is they have phenomenal technology and cameras in there. Every register has a camera in it. We know we have them at the entrances, the parking lots. So what will be really interesting is I did read one thing, and it may have been on X or something, that they believe that type of ski mask is also sold at Walmart. So
Can you get all of these online though?
It is.
Yeah. I should look on that on Amazon right now.
What a golden egg this would
cheap.
be, Megan. If all of a sudden you see the guy with the old soul patch and the backpack and the ski mask, at that point, you better start stretching and get ready. Because things are going to start moving really quickly. But it's almost like a tale as old as times. How many Dateline episodes or crime shows have we seen where they go back, and this is how they're caught? They go back to the Walmart, the Ace Hardware, and you see them buying the type of equipment to dispose of a body or to break in or whatever.
Duct tape,
Done.
exactly. It's a shove.
So I guess it depends on what style and if it's only sold at Walmart, because there's a ton on Amazon. But I guess I know the price was $10.88 for the one at the one in Arizona, the Walmart. And I don't see that price on here, but I mean, I hope they can find them through the back.
Well, it's duct tape. It's a tarp.
It's a murder kit.
I mean, like every other Dateline.
We're still dealing with the
every other
criminal,
Dateline
guys. This is still a criminal, right? Criminals aren't smart. They do screw up, and I get it. I'm sitting there going, well, this guy's covered his tracks pretty well so far, but they're still criminals, and somewhere he has screwed up in that crime scene.
You know, the only
Well, that's the thing, Jonathan. This guy, he will not. He didn't think he was going to get caught on camera that night at Nancy Guthrie's. He did not think so. You know, he wore his little ski mask to protect his identity. Then he thought he was hiding or covering up that camera, and then eventually took it down. I'm sure he was shocked to learn that there were still images of him. So, what are the odds when he bought this backpack we're told if it's the backpack they think, it's only available at Walmart. What are the odds this guy was there buying it thinking, I've got to hide my identity here. They're going to figure out I had this backpack. Meanwhile, he thought he wouldn't even be on camera. They're going to figure out I have the backpack though, and I got to hide the trip to Walmart. Maybe I'm wrong, but even the DC pipe bomber accused, who seemed like autistic and yet very smart in some ways, had bought like pieces of that bomb in this Radio Shack and that store and this store and the other store and waited years between the purchases to make it look less suspicious, but they pieced it all together. What are the odds that this guy, Mr. I'm going to shove some vegetation on it, was so meticulous in the lead up that every single purchase was masked in a way that he's not identifiable?
Well, they're thinking, it's hard to understand these criminals and the way that they think. I mean, one thing is they're bold enough and comfortable enough with walking onto somebody's porch at 2 a.m. And then going in, breaking in, and staying in there for what
41
we know
minutes.
At least 41 minutes. So that's the comfort zone that they work in, which is, it can be a psychopathic type of where they don't have a conscience like we would typically have, and they don't feel the emotions like we feel, so they can go in and do these things, but it doesn't mean that they're good at what they do. And so what we typically see, and again,
it has to be someone they know, because like, would a kidnapper go in there and just hang out and like touch everything, and more of a possibility for their DNA to get everywhere? They didn't steal anything, so clearly their objective was not to steal cell phones, TVs, jewelry. Nancy Guthrie has jewelry, I'm sure. I mean, she has a very wealthy daughter, right? So for the FBI not being able to check someone's phone to the house means either they were smart enough to not bring a phone, or it's a family or professional job. I think it's maybe they didn't bring a phone or a professional job.
I've been in the FBI and done all these other things, but watching 48 Hours, binge watching that for years and years.
Because I said that on a live. I said, wouldn't also the Wi-Fi, right, too, like that would connect if it was family? Like if somebody had been over there and used her Wi-Fi or something, it would automatically connect. So that would hit on the IP tower or whatever. So that's why I thought so too at the beginning. I'm like, I don't think they brought a phone.
You're going to see are statistics and behaviors and things that come out with these people, and they do things because they don't have the conscience and they're not scared, but they make these gigantic mistakes or micro mistakes that really giant investigators are able to go out and find. So I think that diligent investigation and agencies that do their work in a fast is smooth is slow, and when they do that and they really take in all things into account, you will see these mistakes that these criminals make, and it's profound. We mistake, though. We say all the time that this was a what's the word that they use? That this was an advanced, or that this person had some type of expertise in this. I mean, as we see with that guy, his expertise was walking up, covering himself completely up, and walking into a home. But I'm sure he didn't think that when he dropped that glove a mile or more away from the home, that was going to be found by investigators. I'm positive that he didn't think that.
Well, if that's his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's his, we don't
and
know.
One caveat to that bag, I will say, and to Walmart, is that they do live very close to the border, and there are Walmarts in Mexico. So he could have gotten that bag in Mexico. And if that's the case, then it throws a whole nother problem into the case.
That is very true too, guys. The border in Mexico.
We're also told that the Tucson Walmart does not have that ski mask. They don't care. They don't keep them in stock. And so that would have to be an online purchase if he got that at Walmart. I mean, that one could have come from Amazon, etc. So that one may be.
Oh my God, I just said that.
A little tougher to track. Maureen, can I ask you, yesterday, I did the show without you guys, and the breaking news yesterday morning was that a local reporter in Tucson was claiming, based on an inside source, she didn't describe it as law enforcement, et cetera, that this whole case has moved closer to believing that A, Nancy may be alive, and B, that this was a burglary gone bad. Now, no sooner did she take to the airwaves and report that than both of the Fox News reporters on this, citing their federal sources, said getting serious pushback on that, on both pieces of it. they're not saying Nancy's dead. They're just saying, don't sign me up for, we strongly believe she's still alive. And the burglary thing, but she's standing by her sources and she's had good reporting thus far. Do you believe that this was plausibly a burglary gone bad?
No.
I don't believe that either.
No, I don't. And I don't know of many burglars that go into a house, don't take anything of value other than a female victim who's practically immobile. So no, I don't think that's, I wonder who her source is and what they heard that they misunderstood, because it just doesn't seem to make any sense to me at all.
I wouldn't rule it.
Nemo Sign says Ashley Banfield says she saw different colors of the ski mask on the Walmart source. Her show checked no green ski mask. God, I was just at a Walmart too. I'm just curious. I wish I would have looked.
Rule it out though. I wouldn't rule it out, and I hope that they don't.
Why not? Because the reason I rule it out is because he didn't take anything other than Nancy
that we know of.
If you're going to steal, and well, yes, but I mean, I feel like the sheriff would have told us if we have reason to believe there was some burglary. There was a burglary aspect of it. I feel like he would have. Maybe I'm wrong, but he like you break in there, you're going to steal something. Maybe you bump into the homeowner. Maybe she got up for a cup of tea in the middle of the night because she couldn't sleep, and you decide you're going to take her because she saw your face or what have you. Aren't you at least going to take your loot too? You're going to take something besides the old lady and the hassle.
It could be. Well, yeah, it could be. But see, we first of all, we don't know what he did or didn't take. We don't know at what point, if he was in there burglarizing the home when she woke up. She could have woken up immediately and he injured her.
Did he burglarize the home? Like, did they say that? Okay, sure, the door was damaged. I don't think he. Maybe.
Or killed her immediately. And then he spent 40-something minutes trying to figure out how to get her out of there. Also, I've heard people talking about, well, his backpack is full. Well, every time I order something online, like a drone or something, I get a backpack with it and it's cheap. And that guy could have had 20 bags stuck inside that backpack that he has. So we don't know what his intent was. So that's why I just say, I don't rule these things out. Just like I wouldn't rule out the family being a suspect or actually having paid somebody to carry out this crime. As an investigator, I take each possible lead or each possible theory, and I put them on a dry erase board. And then as the evidence comes in, then I will chart that evidence underneath that one particular avenue of approach that I'm looking at. And so as crazy as it may sound, there's always a plausibility. And I think when you look at the fact that we don't actually know when and what happened inside that house, then you can't say that his intent was not to show up there and rob the place. I
want to talk about a couple of other possibilities here, because, we've been talking about the other possibility. There's a few, there's, yes, I suppose.
Yeah, they haven't said that anything other than the door was damaged, the camera, whatever, they smashed it, and nothing was taken property. I thought they said that at the beginning, but I could be wrong.
Gone bad is one of them. I don't think it's most plausible, but okay, it's one of them. One of the leans is family member who wanted to get rid of Nancy for some reason. One of the leans is Stalker of Savannah Guthrie.
Wait. A female victim who's practically immobile. So no, I don't think that's. I wonder who her source is and what they heard that they misunderstood, because it just doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
I want to go back to what Megyn Kelly was saying.
One of the leans is family member who wanted to get rid of Nancy for some reason.
Family member who wanted to get rid of Nancy.
One of the leans is Stalker of Savannah Guthrie, who wanted to get closer to her, wanted to hurt her, something like that, doing something to the mother. They couldn't get close enough to Savannah. And then there's also the possibility of just random ne'er-do-well.
Worker.
Or somebody who didn't like Nancy. Yeah, a worker who Nancy didn't give him a good enough tip. Nancy said the wrong thing. They saw an opportunity. And there is still the possibility of legit kidnapper who decided to steal this old lady because she had a famous daughter and he thought he could extract a bunch of money from her. So there's a couple of those lanes that I wanted to explore with you guys today, including Stalker, Savannah Stalker. it just so happens that just this week, a BBC presenter, that's what they call them over there, news anchor who is Scottish. She works for Scotland's BBC, or is it GB? In any event, she's a UK broadcaster for the BBC, and she's Scottish. Her name is 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗹𝗆, and she just came out this week and gave an interview about having been stalked by an erotomaniac, a guy who very wrongly believed that they were in a relationship, even though they had never, ever met. And here is what she said in SOT 61.
It was letters that started coming to my work, and they were declarations of love, poems, gifts, CDs, cards, those sort of things.
So more than fan letters.
Yeah, and they were quite frequent in nature as well. Sometimes I would receive up to 3 or 4 in 1 week over the course of about 8 to 12 months. Didn't think a huge amount of them at the time. I didn't find them particularly threatening. Unpleasant and uncomfortable, certainly, yes, and a bit of a nuisance. But a lot of the time, these letters would end up in the bin, depending on where I was when I read them. So they were in block capitals, all signed off by the same name. So there was a reference point, there was a name, and they were also dated. But I got engaged at the end of 2021, and the tone in the letters sort of shifted.
Why? Because the engagement was public?
Yes, and I think this person seemed to think that we were in some sort of relationship. They would comment on the clothes that I wore on TV, the way that I moved, the way I held my pen. They thought I was giving subliminal messages through the television.
Wow.
Chad, that is so chilling, because as I told you guys, that's exactly what happened to me with my stalker, who was an erotomaniac back when I first started at Fox News. He thought he was getting messages from me through my hand gestures on television. He thought that we had some whole coded language that we spoke to one another, all of which was made up by this unwell person. And there you see it happening to this gal too. Is it possible that it was happening to Savannah Guthrie too, whether she knew it or not? And this person saw a soft target featured in that Today Show segment she did about her.
We have talked about this here.
Mom, where she went to Tucson and showed off Tucson, and they sat in a Tucson bar and had margaritas 3 months before this happened.
Well, I'm sure that the FBI is diving into Savannah's unread, or, you know, how your texts or the Instagram messages go to a separate folder if you're not friends with people. I'm sure they're diving into that. But Megan, you bring up a great point. We have seen an increase, and there's a term out there called extreme misogyny. And that's these guys, predominantly men, that just have this hatred. They get a friend request, or they see someone on TV, and they truly believe that, you know, this is a mental illness, and that they are being invited into some type of relationship, or that this person is communicating with them. And when they do not get what they are looking for, that extreme misogyny, they turn to violence. It is hard, though, to wrap my head that this person would turn and kidnap an 84-year-old woman to take out your anger. But I guess it is plausible. It is possible if you want to affect the hearts of
That's what I said. I said, what if someone's just really angry and wants revenge?
Of a young woman, go take her mother.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why this story is so compelling and has so many eyeballs, which is like, who takes somebody's mom? You know, it's just like, it's just
poor Nan.
Has it ever happened before? Somebody's mom got stolen? That's like one of the things. It's so bizarre that we're all searching for some explanation. Let me play one more soundbite on it. Yeah, go ahead, Chad.
No, just one more thing, because I think you've done a really good job. There's so many keyboard investigators out here that are saying, hey, I'm getting tired of this case, yada, yada, yada. We have a family whose mother is missing. Anybody out there that had a mother or a loved one that would go missing would be begging for investigators and just like you said, in the media, to be covering this 20.
Again, just like Brad Bradley said, though, there's so many families that don't even get one news station to put their missing child or family member
24/7 until you brought them home. Yes, this is a little bit more high profile because of who Savannah is. It doesn't matter if it was Tom, Dick, or Harry down the street. Someone's mother's missing, and law enforcement's out there doing the best they can.
One other soundbite from anchor 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆𝗆, SOT 62.
So there was a situation where I was getting dropped off by a friend and colleague after a late shift. It was dark, and this man was standing in the middle of the road holding a carrier bag.
Outside your home?
Outside my
we
home.
should say, which is...
He approached the car. I was still in
Wow.
the car talking to my friend. He held eye contact, was walking towards me quite slowly, and something just felt really off. He didn't look friendly. He didn't look like he was looking for directions. He didn't look like he was going to speak even. He came right up to the passenger side of the car, just looked in. I said to my friend, listen, I think you should drive off. We locked the doors and drove off. And then I called my husband to come to the front door to meet me. So that was the first incident outside
Visit.
the house. Yeah. And it sort of intensified after that, a few months after that. And my neighbours were involved as well, because he was trying to gain access to the house. He was buzzing the flat in the middle of the night. He would stand in the middle of the road, just look up at the window.
What, in the middle of the night?
Yeah. The first time was in the middle of the
Wow.
night, and then he was sort of sitting on my steps, waiting for me.
All right, Maureen, my point is if you were like this about Savannah Guthrie, you couldn't get anywhere near her. She is too well protected. That's all I'll say. But trust me, she is. But you could get near her exposed 84-year-old mom.
Right. And she's got a good security team, Savannah does, and they were in contact with the police shortly after this event began to unfold, and they were working on anybody that was looking at her from afar or from close up. But she just had that surgery a couple weeks ago, and she was in a hospital
on her vocal cords.
Yeah, and maybe her mom was the emergency contact. Maybe that is something that sparked something like this in someone. But having
or the Today Show feature.
Yeah, well, there's one thing that anyone with two eyeballs can say for sure, and that is Savannah Guthrie loves her mom.
Yeah.
Unbelievably, just like a lot of us do or have. You could just see it. It was so apparent
Yeah.
and it was so beautiful to see.
Yeah.
So if you did want to exercise some sort of control over her, that would be a way to do it. But something's got to be done to stop this nonsense, because going all the way back to the early 80s, I was a victim of a stalker when it really wasn't even a word yet. And everyone was just like, oh, you just got to deal with it. No, I don't have to deal with it.
Right.
Finally, my mom did, and then my uncle, and then some other police officers stepped up to try to help the situation.
It's illegal. It's totally
It
illegal.
wasn't illegal
That
then.
woman, that Scottish broadcaster, got a restraining order for life against the guy after a criminal trial. So he'll never be bothering her again. Listen,
can I say something on this?
Yeah. Well, no, hold that thought, because
A piece of paper sometimes doesn't stop a crazy
got to take a
person.
quick break. We're going to come back. I know Chad's got to run, but I am going to play you Savannah Guthrie on kidnapping from her book in an incredible excerpt. That's next. We'll be right back.
Wait, Savannah wrote a book about kidnapping? Whoa, I didn't know that.
If you're looking to make smarter choices for your health this year,
Her house. Okay, we need to
Game-
listen to this.
out of pain. I'm kind of stunned by what we have here. This was found online originally by somebody on X who goes by @McCannCaseTweet. And this woman, I don't know,
What?
flagged that Savannah's book, which was released in February of 2024,
February of
discussed a game
2024?
she used to play as a kid with her cousin. And it was a kidnapping game involving Nancy. So we pulled the audio that Savannah did of her book. In it, you're going to hear her talk about her cousin Terry, who was, she said, like an aunt to her growing up. Terry's 20 years older than Savannah. So Terry would be 74 right now. But listen to this.
About once a year in the summertime, Cousin Terry orchestrated a kidnapping of my sister and me. It went down like this. The cousins would visit for a few days at our house in Tucson. And then, on the morning they were to leave, Terry would wake us up early, shushing us in the pre-dawn darkness as we made our escape. We would all pile into her rickety station wagon and head north, the sky streaking with bright oranges and pinks as the sun rose over the colorless desert landscape. Somewhere between Phoenix and Tucson, Terry would make a pit stop and let Annie and me call home at a payphone. Mom, Cousin Terry kidnapped us to take us to her house. My mother would feign shock, protest how terribly she would miss us, then assure us she'd drive up to retrieve us in a few days.
Jonathan, that is just eerie.
That
It's
is.
eerie. She
That is.
released that in 2024, talking
What?
about kidnapping and her mom and her sister and Savannah, a cousin. I don't know about Cousin Terry. I'm not sure whether Cousin Terry is still in the picture.
I don't think that's funny to joke about, guys. Like, haha, like if I called my mom and said that, she would probably have a heart attack.
Or what, but I'm not suggesting Cousin
Like,
Terry is behind this, but I'm suggesting that just the mere discussion of kidnapping amongst the Guthrie family is potentially the kind of thing that could put an idea in somebody's head, could potentially be relevant in trying to track down where somebody
not a good version of hide and seek, dude.
first got the notion of a kidnapping in the Guthries. And then you have 3 months ago, Savannah with her mom in Tucson on the Today Show, showing off where they eat, where they hang out. I'm just trying to piece together how this possibly could have even come about, since the idea of kidnapping a mom is unfathomable to most of us.
Yeah, that is, there's a lot of detail to that story. And so, you know, I have a degree in political science and psychology, double major that is, I call it a double useless degree. But some of the things that I do remember out of psychology that really stands out is that there was one woman who had, one of the case studies, she had like 14 different personalities, and she had a sister. Well, they were both abused as children. And their mom would do things like when they were, she felt they were being bad, she would put them in a bathtub with
I don't know that it's related, like her writing that book on this, but how you don't think Savannah's thinking like, oh shit, how weird that I once wrote a book about kidnapping and now I'm experiencing it.
scalding water in it and make them sit there. And one developed this incredible deep psychosis. The other one was pretty normal and just hated her mom. So, you know, this is another reason why I wouldn't rule people out. And I'm not saying people should go down this rabbit hole, but as law enforcement, I don't rule these things out, because if the sheriff's never heard this before, this would be something that I would definitely look into. But anybody who's read that book, as well as you both have talked about stalkers, and we heard the other individual from, I think it was a BBC or wherever she was, talking about her stalker. People latch onto things in weird ways. And I know, Megan, Maureen, perhaps you have, because you're on TV a lot. And I know, Megan, you probably had these where you get emails from people that say some of the weirdest things, especially if you've been in the FBI. They're like, can you help me out with the FBI? Or people will write and say, hey, can you introduce, I used to host for Sean Hannity on the radio. I was his fill-in host. And people would write me and say, hey, can you get me in touch with Hannity? I got to tell him these things, right? Well, that's not realistic.
Oh, sure.
And so I think when we look at, again, the totality of that show that was on there, it showed where Nancy lives. It talked about Savannah. And then there's this book out. This is kind of a striking coincidence, which does happen sometimes, but a striking coincidence I think needs to be looked into. And I would, if I was investigating this, I would be looking at the people who continuously send TMZ these emails about how they've seen Nancy, right?
Because
yes.
We're going to get to that, because there's another one.
Because that is the individual who very well could be responsible. Again, if these people are that wacky, like you were talking about, or this other woman who was stalked, the person thought they were in a relationship. So if a person, they could be thinking two different things at the same time, and still trying to get some kind of glory out of this. So I would really seriously be looking at that.
Hadn't even considered that. Yeah. Had not even considered that the what seems like a fraudster continuously emailing Harvey Levin at TMZ about how I know who the kidnapper is and I want a Bitcoin. Half now, half later, might actually be the kidnapper looking to insert himself into the discussion, as opposed to the person who wrote the first two $4 million, $6 million demands.
Sure.
That's you guys, we don't know if those ransom notes are even real. The real kidnappers, fake ones. Remember, one was arraigned, I think, today or yesterday. the imposter.
Interesting thought. Had not even considered that because the person sounds so farcical. Hold on, put a pin in that because I do want to come back to that. But while we're on the subject of the potential stalker, we showed this a couple weeks ago with all of you. But let's take a look at that Today Show segment that I've now referenced a couple times that happened 3 months before me.
So you guys came here in the 70s and you'd been moving all around. What made you want to stay in Tucson and plant roots?
It's so wonderful. Just the air, the quality of life is laid back and gentle. Yeah, I like to watch the javelina eat my plants.
But the best thing about Tucson is coming home and
Yes.
seeing you guys. Should we raise a glass? Prickly Pear margarita. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you.
Love you.
Wow.
It's eerie now. It's sad. Maureen, you're right, by the way. The pictures of Savannah and her mom are like very compelling. They're very compelling. You can see the love radiating off of these two. And I can relate to it. Honestly, it's like Savannah used to not, we've talked about it many times. Her dad died when she was 16. My dad died when I was 15.
My dad died when I
Both
was
of sudden heart attacks.
Yep.
Yeah. Like there's something, I don't know.
Your mom becomes your mom
definitely
and
does
your
something.
dad. Your mom, when your
right.
dad dies young, your mom becomes both parents. And my mom wasn't the tough guy when we were kids, but she had to become one because she had 6 teenagers when our dad died.
Well, it's no accident you became an FBI agent. It's definitely no accident you became an FBI agent. It's not, and it's no accident. Savannah and I both went to law school, and then we both became reporters. And I don't know, I would suggest for the record, maybe we both had something to prove of our own. There's no question that the loss of a father figure and an actual father at a very young age has a profound impact on a young woman. And Savannah did not want to leave her mom when it was time to go off and get her first reporting job, and the mother insisted that she do it. I understand that too. It was like I had it more when I went to college. I felt so bad because I was the third kid and I did not want to leave my mom alone at all. You know, I knew she'd be alone. And I did. My mom said, "You're going, like, get out. This is it. I insist." And I went. And so it's incredibly sad and it's incredibly awful to think that something as sweet as a segment with her mom could possibly have played a role in the mom's targeting, or like a.
You're right. Bama Batman, just because they love their mom doesn't mean they really do. Who knows? And we don't know the inside familial secrets. Everyone, we all have them. They're all there. Nobody's perfect. No family's perfect.
You know, a fun childhood story about like a silly game, but that silly game involved the word kidnapping and even a fake kidnapping within the family where they took her. You just never know what's going to set a lunatic down the lane he or she goes.
Sweet baby Jesus, can we just rid this world of all the lunatics? They are just outnumbering us at this point. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But with regard to the kidnapping thing in her book, you know, it sounds like the older cousin Terry was just coming up with some like secret plan to get the kids up early in the morning to get them out of the house to beat the traffic. And she just had a you know, a good imagination. How someone else takes that is a totally different matter. You know, my dad, if he were late coming home as a joke, he would call my mom and, you know, she'd be all upset. And he would just say to her, "Hey, Mary, don't pay the ransom. I've escaped." And we would all crack up. And she'd say, "That son of a gun," you know, but so there are people that can find a little dark humor in things, and my whole family's first responders, so we all have that kind of dark humor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not blaming.
We're Irish, so we have it.
It's so true of the Irish. We can't. We try to hide it, but it just when it comes out, you just see everyone burst into laughter, and you know,
yes,
you just gotta.
We joke about everything, inappropriate and appropriate,
especially
and
inappropriate.
It's a great way to go through life. Honestly, it's like that. That's why you don't get too stressed out, and hopefully you live a long life because you're not running around with high cortisol all the time.
Hey,
you laugh it away. It's a very effective tool.
If we got rid of all the bad people, like Maureen's saying, social media would be reduced to about 10% of the people that go on there every day. So we wouldn't have social media anymore.
This is also true.
Some potential lunatics would dive right in.
And now that leads me back to the fourth letter that Harvey Levin got over at TMZ. So as the audience knows, I know Maureen's rolling her eyes and throwing her head back. I know we all feel that way. Like, what the F?
I'm starting to wonder, does Harvey have an alibi for where he was that night? Just kidding.
Marian just said what we've all been thinking. We're like, did Harvey get looked into?
Many of the Twitter follows, like, they're so fed up with like the way this investigation is going. They've been like, have they checked underneath?
Yeah. DJ Robs, you're right. I'm still waiting for the Guthries to put up their 1 million. I know. Out of that 80 mil they have, I'm like, send some over here. Dang, for the pobrecita. Make heartfelt videos asking for help. Read the damn room.
Nancy's bed? Have they checked the basement? You know, some basic searching mechanisms that they're pushing. But here's what's happened. Harvey Levin has now gotten 4 letters from someone not claiming to be the kidnapper, but claiming to know who the kidnapper is. And for the low price of 1 Bitcoin, he will tell Harvey who the kidnapper is. That's how number 1 started. Then it grew to, well, now the FBI is offering 100,000. Bitcoin's only worth 65. So I'll take 100,000 for my information now. And I want it to be 50 grand in Bitcoin before I reveal, and the other 50 after I reveal. Different iterations of this. Then, and also he was offended that they raised the award. He was like, I feel attacked, something like that.
I thought that was great.
Person sounds like an absolute moron. So Harvey was on TV, you'll be shocked to hear, talking about this development. And here is what he said, SOT 57.
I have something to say to you. And I've already talked to the FBI about this, that if you are not real, you're committing a crime. This is the 4th letter you've sent. And I should tell everybody that in this letter, it says, I know what I saw 5 days ago south of the border, and I was told to shut up.
Harvey pisses me off here. We watched this at the very beginning. You're right, I was saying they're going to next thing we'll get a letter from a person who knows the kidnapper, who knows the grandma, who knows the second uncle, who knows. If I buy a house for my mom right next to me, yeah. Oh yeah, that was a whole nother thing we've had a discussion about here multiple times. About why Nancy was living alone.
So I know who he is, and that was definitely Nancy with them. This is the 2nd time he has referred to more than one person involved in this. He also says one of the reasons he's worried about coming forward is he has a record. He has a burglary on his record from 10 years ago. If you're worried about getting this money, and you really do have this information, send it to us. You're sending us these letters. Send it to us. We will forward it to the FBI. So this is a way for you to get that money if this really is legitimate.
Harvey's distracting from the fact that he's in the Epstein files and he hasn't addressed it.
Okay. So now in the 3rd letter, by the way, that preceded this, Harvey said the man had written, be prepared to go international. Be prepared to go international. And so now we've got a 4th letter claiming he saw Nancy with, quote, them in Mexico, Jonathan. I mean, to be honest, we haven't fully explored the south of the border possibilities. The sheriff kind of ruled them out the other day. I mean, I don't believe the sheriff. I got to be honest. I don't believe a word that comes out of the sheriff's mouth. But the other day he did say, like, no, we don't even think that's a thing. So okay. Based on what? Your Democrat policies? Truly, like, how have you totally ruled out south of the, you don't know who fucking did it. Sorry. I've had it with this guy.
Whoa.
Should we be talking? Should we be?
She like came for Harvey today, Chris Cuomo.
Paying a Bitcoin and a half to see what this guy may know about south of the border.
Well, first of all, let me say that, again, hosting radio, you make live reads so easy because they're terrible. But as you can see, Harvey Levin, who I figured he would be able to read a little bit better than that. That was terrible, first of all. But
it was pretty stilted.
Yeah. So, but listen, this goes back. I found something very striking. I've heard him read that already a couple times, but for whatever reason, it didn't jump out at me that the individual that is supposedly writing these letters, first of all, are they coming from the same email? And if they are, then that is very telling. Secondly,
I think he said yes. I think he did say they are.
So the individual just said that he has a record for burglary. Now, I find that very odd as well. As I told you last time I was on here, 20% of the people who commit a homicide are the ones who call in and report the homicide. So they think that's going to keep them out of trouble or for whatever reason. So
Greenhead, I remind you of Megan when I'm
it could be the case,
But
and I would hope that they are looking into this, that this individual could be the one who was actually going in there to burglarize the place, didn't even think about TMZ or anything, and then these other potentially fraud ransom letters came in and were read by TMZ, and so this individual reached out because he wants to get some money for something. Perhaps it was a robbery gone bad, but the reality is, again, when we're looking at the totality of all these things, this is how you go down as an investigator. You have to look down these rabbit holes. There's so many different cases that were not solved until years later because they just did not take a second to stop and say, what is this? Is there a possibility here? Because statement analysis is one of the most important things that you can go through, I think, as an agent. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't go through that much training. I got the opportunity to. I wasn't a polygrapher, but polygraphers are amazing at it. And statement analysis can tell you a lot. And that last email was that he got. That's very odd that it that he mentioned that he has a record for burglary.
Yeah,
It's a
That's
forensic
so
linguist,
interesting. So maybe
go ahead.
Maybe we need to be, I mean, Maureen, that's a very interesting theory that, like, because Harvey keeps saying, I'm telling you, they're taking the earlier two notes that demanded a $4 million and $6 million ransom. That's what the first note to Harvey said, you know, to the media, the two local Tucson stations, and then Harvey too. And then the follow-up note didn't offer proof of life, but seemed to be reiterating, like, I want the money. That those are not the real ones and didn't come from a real kidnapper, but possibly these, the weird 1, 2, 3, 4 emails that followed with this guy who seems very much to want attention, and also a Bitcoin and a half, that possibly it is the real kidnapper trying to get a quick buck off of this and just behaving very recklessly.
Well, water seeks its own level. And this seems to be at about the same level as the activity we saw on Nancy's front porch.
Yes,
with regard,
it kind of does.
Yeah, with regard to the border, it is 60 miles away. It is a place where you could, well, you could do it anywhere. You could certainly do it in the United States also, but you could pay someone to take care of Nancy while you go through the negotiation process to get your money. You know, but there are great cameras at the border, you know, so if we're looking at that time frame, the time that this event potentially ended and then go 60 miles, or we always look at windows. We always start with these windows. You can expand out or you can hone in, but we're going to start with a window like that. So it would definitely give us a whole bunch of leads. And I'm fairly certain they've got to be looking at that anyways, because it is a line of inquiry that is logical. And we always follow these logical paths. But we were told initially that was, no, that isn't what was happening. I don't think the Bureau would listen to that. I think they would have definitely looked that way. My friend Jim Galliano, he was the Legat in Mexico, and he talked the other day on Fox all about the type of behavior that you would see at our Legat, working with the other people or working with everybody else in the government there at the embassy and in other places and all of our partners. We have really strong partnerships in Mexico, believe it or not, the FBI does. We have a number of FBI agents assigned down there. We have DEA agents assigned down there, all kinds of people, and we work together all the time.
Yeah, I love everything Maureen says. Wise Owl, she should have had live-in help, at least minimum. She should have paid a subscription for the camera system. We absolutely agree.
So if I have a lead in Mexico, I would send that lead to Mexico. I would speak to my counterpart there. They might refer me to the DEA or Department of State. So there is a well-oiled machine in all these different countries. But I would say in particular, Mexico, we have a very good working relationship with our counterparts.
Unfortunately, you don't know if somebody took her south of the border, if they were smart enough to store her someplace for a day or two until the heat wasn't as intense, and then cross the border with her in the trunk or something. And, you know, let's face it, a guy in his 30s with the black mustache and the black goatee or soul patch, not going to look suspicious driving from Arizona into Mexico. That probably happens about 1,000 times a day.
Unless he forgot to take off
I
the
don't think he would have
gloves.
drawn a lot of suspicion.
Unless he forgot to take off the ski mask and the gloves.
Well, I mean, if we got that lucky, my God, and they didn't crack that one, then that really is a
And by
pathetic
the way,
embarrassment.
there is another case. I don't know. I just heard it.
Okay, we'll end it there. We watched basically all of it, and I'm dying of laughing over here because Navy says, "Is it late or is that Brian Albert on the screen?" No, dude, he does. When I first saw him, I was like, "Whoa." Because I've been wanting to cover Karen Reed stuff, and I was like, Brian Albert's on the screen. He does. He really looks like him. I stayed awake 3 days. I know I've been doing them all nighters. I know. Like Jen McCabe's Come On Melly will be screaming, Jen Macabre. I want her in the ring professionally. Anyways, dang, it's late. I've been on for like 3 hours. I've been live all day. I did 3 lives today. Give your girl a like, please. Tap, tap, tap. Tap that ass on your way out. The like button. My screen is really small, but he looks like him. Yeah, he does. What specifically convinced you that it's the daughter? Good question. Something happened to her while she was with her family and they're covering her up. Yeah, seems like we all have some similar opinions, some different theories. I don't know, guys. I don't know. We'll see what the new update is tomorrow. Of course, if there isn't one, then I probably won't do a live. But if we have stuff to discuss and go over, then, you know, I will schedule it later. I'm going to try to be on earlier than I was today. I was on I think, like 2 p.m. PST. So I'm trying to go. Oh, thank you, Green Eyed. I do have Venmo. I do. I just don't promote it, but I do have it. Yeah, I just haven't added it in my Nightbot. I appreciate you. Glad I found you. I will start watching. Thank you, Navy Pearl. Appreciate you. We're glad that you found us too. Happy to have you here. We're a wild bunch, so just know that. We give a little warning. We can get a little crazy here on the True Crime channel. So we'll even out when I end up missing Jody anyways. Yes, we have Jody tomorrow. We have Jody tomorrow and Jody Arias day 1. So old days, you better be there. Please tap that like button on your way out. We have a ton of lives. I have a ton of them planned. So my ass needs to get to bed. Justice for Nancy. Where is Nancy? I hope they find Nancy. Thank you, Debbie. Love you. Then I was asleep. Yeah, I know. I hope something comes of this, and I truly hope Nancy's okay, but day 18 officially already. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. Let me know in the comments for the replay viewers. Shout out to you guys too. You matter. You guys get some sleep, and I will see you bright and early in the morning for more true crime. Have a good night.